Reveille. Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
Come to us, doing what we love. It's time to bang. Oh, yeah. How about that intro reminding us of the way we were? It's the best damn 2 hours of your week. Coming to you live and direct on a special Thursday, September 5th, 2024, Labor Day week. And today, my father's 69th birthday.
Hey,
so
happy
shout out
birthday
to
to Pops.
Pops. It's Morning Kombat, Brian Campbell, Luke Thomas, and your filthy staph infection.
I don't know if it's staph, but it could be, yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna
what a
make
nightmare.
No, I feel bad for you. I'm making jokes because that's what we do, but you're fighting the good fight like Kevin Lee against Ferguson, right? Like Marab potentially right now, like every fighter.
Unlike those guys, I actually tried to seek medical attention, but the U.S. Healthcare system has failed me dramatically. So,
All right. Well,
Jesus.
we're back where we belong, back in Manhattan, Metal Arc Studios, where down here, Luke, we get stoned. Immaculate.
you know what's funny
what
about
I'm
you know what's funny about doing the show today at 10 a.m.
What?
Getting to Manhattan for the so normally I arrive into Manhattan right around 9:50, 10 a.m.
Just in time to shit for a half hour.
Just in time to shit for a half hour, but I don't have to deal with the morning commute of all the New Yorkers. Well, today I got here at 8:50. Yeah, 8:50. And I was right in the middle of rush hour.
That means you are ass to ass with different nationalities and sexes.
Let's just say
people.
I got off the subway and I nearly set myself on fire after pouring gasoline on me because of how crowded I had to. So here, my rule is I never touch the subway bar. What I do is I kind of grab it with my wrist and I kind of like do that. I don't actually hold the thing. But because it was so crowded, I didn't have a choice. I had to grab it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I basically went and then just dipped my hand in carbonic acid after it was over. It was so fucking gross. Oh, my God.
Like and subscribe to what we do here. I've got, I think, brighter pastures are ahead for us, okay? That's all I got for you today, all right? All right?
I'm not going to say anything.
I've got a feeling, okay? You know what I mean? That today is going to be a good day because we've got a loaded show
I
for
took
you.
an absolutely enormous dump in the bathroom.
Joseph
here.
A. Banks style.
Oh, no, because that was a triple flusher, but this was a double.
Oh,
this was a double, a proper double.
I don't know. Do I want to be in the thought process of like
And
when
you went to the
decide-
bathroom, and I was like, ooh, I can't wait to go
Yeah, but I
unleash
went
the fury next to
downstairs.
BC. You went,
Oh, you got to know about the code for the downstairs bathroom.
I didn't know about this.
Oh, yeah.
Because first of all, they have this illegal you can't shit in the shitter bathroom, which
Right.
I'll never understand.
Well, the story behind it is incredible. We can't say it on the air, but it's a great story. all
So
right?
then I went to the one you're supposed to go to, absolutely demolished that commode.
Great. That's great.
And I was sad you weren't next to me.
Yeah, well, I don't do that. See, some people have no problem just
Okay,
you know,
hold on.
Like you, if you and I were in the same orgy, I'm never gonna make eye contact. You know what I mean?
Let me say something. Show of hands there in the studio. Who thinks it's weird to be in a stall, going to the bathroom, and you know for a fact that there is somebody next to you in the stall, and you are audibly playing Instagram or TikTok
Okay.
reels on your phone?
That's not the real question.
You do that? Dude, you're a fucking menace to society.
No, you're missing the point here.
You're all psychopaths.
The real menace to societies are the people who are willing to go full bore shit with grunts while you're doing the same thing. Look, there's a dance. There's a respect that if somebody sits next to you, it's because they have to shit and they can't wait. No one wants to shit next to somebody. So if they come in, you're like, shit, they have to go better, more than I do. So the onus is now on me, the guy who was there first, to finish as fast as humanly possible to get out and lessen the awkwardness. Anyone listening to things is just waiting for you to leave, Luke. That's the thing.
I think if you, first of all,
Because then you're standing
if
up
you
because you
play-
stand up like a gross
Put
person.
the camera on me. Put the camera on me. Let me explain something to you fucking idiots out there. Nobody wants to hear you play TikTok or Instagram reels on your motherfucking phone. If you do that, you are the barnacle of society. That's what you are. You're an absolute... there's serial killers.
All right.
Hold on. Serial
All right.
killers, people who audibly play
No.
TikTok or Instagram reels in public on their phone. and then murderers and rapists. You're worse than the murderers and rapists if you do that.
While I don't damn you for the next comment because your heart is in the right place, tough talk from a guy who FaceTimes his family in front of like 65 people at full volume. You got, come on, you got glass houses here, brother.
I don't do it in public. I did it in the office. I don't do it on the fucking street. I admit that, there's a lot to that, but I keep those conversations short.
Do you do that in the shitter?
No, fuck no. Absolutely not. Never. And dude,
you're like, I have standards, BC.
If you're put one more time, put the camera on me. One more time. Hold on. If you're on a flight and you're playing your phone audibly, the plane deserves to crash.
All right.
Look at me.
Are we making more Building 7 jokes? I think, wait for have you seen this shit at least. We got a great show for you today. A really good main event of UFC Apex this Saturday, Sean Brady versus Gilbert Burns. We're going to break that down and look at the latest news cycle involving the greatest fighter of all time, Jon Jones, Dana White, Turki Alalshikh, and so much more. Look back on it. He
unfollowed literally every single person on Twitter.
We're going to get into that, but post-brawl with Jake Donovan and Jake proving once again that he's a real one in that back and forth, Turki unfollowed everybody.
He was down to 0. He did the old Skip Bayless bit. Yes. 0 followers or following.
We'll get into that and so much more. Have you seen the shit? DMs from Donks. Like and subscribe. The future is bright. That's why Luke is wearing them shades. But
we do have to talk about one thing related to the show.
Is this the Oasis reunion?
It's not.
Turki's trying to get them, by the way, at the next
I did. Well, he's got one of them, right? He
got
Noel.
But that's a pretty badass move, okay? Come on.
Hey, listen, I'm not against Oasis.
Like Eminem
playing.
wasn't for me. Oasis reunion at Turki's big event. That's
BC's like, the problem with Eminem is he's just not white enough. I need real, true, hardcore whites. What I was going to say is we haven't talked about the fact that more to the point, we haven't talked about getting nominated again. We talked about it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Nominated for the World MMA Awards. Question to you, BC, do we deserve it?
So I was thinking about this long and hard.
It's a tough answer, I think.
Sifredi level, long and hard. I definitely don't think we deserved it in year 3, so I was actually, in a weird way, happy when we didn't win it. I also think Dana White's Contender Series winning it was actually a year where they really deserved it, and they've stepped up that show a lot, and the people behind the scenes.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, did you ever watch the show just focusing on the production and the quick move? It's like, to me, it's MMA's answer to Showbox. The reputation Showbox had of just being like straight to the point, no bullshit. Here's your box.
I do like parts. I'm not saying it's a poorly produced show. I just think the way the show has changed over time makes it less appealing to me. But that's a different conversation.
Well, the reason why we didn't deserve it in year 3 of this nominee, which would have been last year, 2023, is because we had a weird year. The death of Showtime wasn't overnight. It was it was like a whole year.
It was agonizing.
Yeah, and we had some ups and downs. This year, you could argue twice as worse from a shit show standpoint. Promises kept, promises made. Really,
I don't know.
But we have persevered like a motherfucker. Like when Leonard Skinner crashed that plane, and some people didn't make it, and the drummer Artemis Pyle crawled on his chest with all broken bones and climbed over a fence to get help. They still got back together and made hits. You know what I'm saying, Luke?
Yeah.
I mean, they were never the same, but we have come through the ashes.
Bon Scott died choking on his own vomit. They went and got another guy.
The way a real match. And you could argue that the other guy, unlike Sammy Hagar, although I respect it, the other guy did elevate the band, right? I mean, I'm not.
Sammy Hagar's Van Halen.
Right.
And about AC/DC.
Right. So
Brian Johnson.
The reference to Sammy Hagar is to say that unlike Sammy Hagar, who didn't take Van Halen to a next level, respectfully kept them high, but never took them to a next level, I think Long Island Luke jumping in, I agree. Brian Johnson may have actually improved. Now, it's a long-held argument, Bon Scott versus Brian Johnson, but Johnson was so great that he's in that argument.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
I'll just say, deserves got nothing to do with it. If you can muster the votes, then that's how you deserve it. But I will say, we're a couple of cockroaches, couple of survivors.
Yeah, we won't go away.
Couple of survivors.
Nothing says old school feel MK like opening the show with 10 minutes of nonsense. That's my style. That's how I get down. To conclude the nonsense, Long Island Luke Noseda, he loves when I pronounce that wrong. On the 1s and 2s, Luke.
Aussie rules, Luke.
Last 2 nights, including last night, he only got 3 hours of sleep. Pearl Jam at Madison Square Garden. Oh, amazing. Shit, Luke. What do you got for us?
It was epic. Night 2 was a lot better than night 1, but...
Hey, were there a lot of white people there?
I think I saw a few. I think I saw a couple.
Dude, lead guitarist, he was saying, Mike McCready, now what, 61?
61 years old, still ripping.
What is the best Pearl Jam album? Is it 10?
10 without even...
Yeah.
But the thing
even I like 10 because 10 came out when I was in, I think, high school or middle school. I can't remember anymore.
91, yeah.
So that was elementary school. Jesus, that's how long ago it was. 91, I was in 5th grade.
It was 7th grade for me, okay? But the point about Pearl Jam is the longevity. as he said, they're still a dynamite live act. They're still putting out their new albums, like not bad.
Remember when they
right?
went to war with Ticketmaster and ended up only saving their fans $1 per ticket?
Hey, at least they fought the good fight.
They tried.
Right?
That's not true. Every ticket is $175 regardless of where it is.
God.
Yeah, no, now, but I'm talking back in the 90s, fuckface.
Like Bjorn Rebney in the MMA union.
Mexico.
They tried right
Mexico.
there. Okay. That's enough bullshit to start the show, but you can buy our merch, as you can see right here. We still sell it, and there are talks about rejuvenating the shit out of this. Are there not?
We'll announce it when there's things to announce.
All right. You can use our promo code LIVE10 right now to get 10% off this fantastic tie-dye shirt, this hat. How about Luke's bomber jacket? Get yours, get some, get off in our clothing. All right. There you go. Why don't, Luke, we start the damn show?
Let's do it.
Okay, topic number 1 takes us to this Saturday in the desert. UFC Apex, another fight night card, another Apex show. But these are not the main events you will complain about ever, in my opinion, when you're talking about the Apex. A very strong one featuring the number 6 and number 8 welterweights in the UFC. Sean Brady welcoming the veteran, Dorino Gilbert Burns. Luke, first and foremost, love this fight, brother. We had Gilbert Burns on when the fight was first announced. Are you itching for it like I am? Like, you know you're going to see a scrap, but I think there's so many interesting storylines for each man about what's at stake and where they are at in their careers coming out of this.
I mean, listen, is this going to be 2 rock'em sock'em robot situations? Probably not, but I really, really like this fight. I like this fight a lot. I think it's a big and important fight for Sean Brady, who obviously has done a great amount of winning, did have the loss to Belal Muhammad, which set him back, but he rebounded against Kelvin Gastelum. Nevertheless, questions do persist out there, and I know he got after some of the folks on Twitter for the negative commentary, but in general, I don't think it's unfair to say some of the issues that were raised and put on display, both I would say in the Chiesa fight, but then in particular in the Belal fight, has he fully sort of turned a corner past them? We're going to find out. We didn't get an answer to that in the Gastelum fight because his ground game was, in his top game in particular,
dude,
was...
how about rewatching that like I did this morning?
He
that was
housed him.
That was daddy pants.
He housed him. And then in particular, how many times Kelvin Gastelum tried to initiate a scramble and Brady was able to kind of surf and maintain either top position or back without losing it is... Folks don't know how hard that is. He was so good at it.
The only competitive part about that fight was Bisping and DC trying to argue
Talk
over semantics on the broadcast. Yeah.
But what I will say is there certainly were some questions in the Belal Muhammad fight. By the way, I went back and I watched that one too. That was a little bit more competitive than I remember. It was one really big right hand, I think, in that second or third round, whatever round it ended, and that kind of put Brady on back a little bit. But he was doing some decent work. Some folks thought he had won the first round against him. Still, some questions about how he deals with pressure. Even Belal Muhammad, I think, this week saying to the Anakin Florian podcast, I don't think Sean Brady likes getting hit, which means he loses composure.
Speaking of, Luke.
We have that clip?
We do have that clip. You should read the rundown more often.
I do read the rundown. I didn't see that. That's kind of funny.
Let's hear from the champion, Belal Muhammad, who stopped by Anakin Florian to give his thoughts on the matchup, and particularly here, the key weaknesses of both fighters.
Brady looked so good his last fight, and for Burns, he was looking good until he got finished. So I think it just comes now to how hungry is Burns. Is he still motivated in there? Because he's talking about, I want to fight Usman or Leon next, but he just doesn't seem like the same confident guy that, like, I can still chase the title. I'm still there. Because even if he wins, Jack Della's still ahead of him for the title shot, and you still know you got a long road to go. So for him now, coming off of 2 losses, I think it just comes down to how motivated he is. I think Burns hits harder. But I do think that Brady has better wrestling and is probably stronger on top if he ends up taking him to the ground. And Burns is comfortable off his back. So I could see it being one of those where Brady keeps taking him down and Burns goes for submissions off his back and really doesn't get nowhere with it. And Brady ends up winning a decision that way. But I don't think Brady likes to get hit. So if Burns lands one of those big overhand rights, I see him dropping Brady.
There looked to be a couple moments even in the Gastelum fight. The problem with Gastelum is the only offense he had were single punches at a single time, but they almost looked like they were partially moving Brady. They were having an impact that if he had been able to obviously stop the takedown, put together some combinations on the feet, are the questions about Brady's chin still legitimate entering this fight?
I don't think he's got a bad chin. In fact, if you go back into the Belal fight, he got stopped on his feet just because he wasn't answering the punches, but he didn't get like chinned and then bowled over. It's not exactly what happened, but I do recognize, are there potentially, and listen to the word that I'm saying, are there potentially some composure issues? There could be. We have to see. And I don't know necessarily if Gilbert's that guy, but I went back and I watched a bunch of Gilbert fights for this one. This is, to me, like, for as many questions as there might be about Sean Brady, because we haven't fully seen the entire depth and breadth of his game,
Sure.
it's a different set of questions for Gilbert, which is, what does he have left?
Well, I want to bring that up to you because I think that's the biggest question mark in this matchup. And I think when you look at the three sort of big points against him entering this fight, 38 years old, 2-fight losing streak, and in particular stopped in his last fight against Jack Della Maddalena, Mr. Bobolina, Mr. Bob Dobolina. But it feels, Luke, like you can just take that and be like, okay, maybe this feels like Brady coming up and having a big moment, and this is Burns trying to get a last stand, but he's on the way out. Then you go back and rewatch those fights and figure out the circumstances of the 2-fight losing skid. I don't discount what he did against Belal, considering the circumstances. Took an extreme last minute, wasn't 100%, was injured. I think he regrets probably taking that big swing.
He shouldn't have taken that fight.
It's a gamble you take, and if you get the win, then you know, no one ever knows, or you never have to play it up. But he took a gamble and lost. But look, specifically the Jack Della Maddalena fight. Not only was Gilbert up 2-0 on 2 of 3 scorecards entering the final round, where as long as he just finished the fight standing, so to speak, he's going to win that by split decision. He took Jack down and had his back as late as 1:45 to go in that fight, in a fight he was winning, only to get brutally hurt by a knee and then get stopped.
He got reversed when he went to suck out because Della Maddalena was posting on the elbow. When he went to pull that out to flatten him, he got turned over. I mean, that's a very rare, difficult
For
thing
sure.
that Della Maddalena did.
And it's a big move from Della Maddalena to answer the call of his coaches in the corner and do it so calmly and execute. And now if you look back at that fight, Jack Della had the better exchanges in the terms of volume and punching, but Gilbert landed the bigger blows on the feet, and he obviously had big moments controlling that fight on the ground. So look, I think it's fair to push back against the idea that 2 losses, a knockout 38. We're still getting a very elite Gilbert Burns. That's my belief coming in here. What are your thoughts?
I am not sure if we're going to get a very elite, just because age is it's just hard to overcome that.
But aren't these, I don't mean to stereotype by region or whatever, but aren't these Brazilians different? Aren't we seeing RDA, Glover, Vanderlei for a stretch, Anderson Silva linger at old age and still have a high level with them?
I think to an extent you can make that argument. And certainly, remember, Durinho was a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before he ever even went to MMA. This is a guy who's been competing at a high level for a very long time. He takes, I think, in general, really good care of his body. He prepares very well. He understands how to prepare. In terms of hand speed between he and Brady, more to the point, like Gilbert Burns has good takedowns himself. He has good back-taking ability himself. That first takedown he hit on Della Maddalena where he goes for a high crotch and then tripped out the far side leg and then whipped him around and went to his back. Like, what's interesting to me about this Brady and Gilbert thing is we keep thinking, oh, well, Brady's going to want to get on top, and I do think that that's true.
Yeah.
But I actually feel like Gilbert could turn the tables and be like, aha, before you even get a chance to do that, I'm going to take your back, and I'm going to be the guy who's on the top position, and I'm going to be the one who's threatening chokes.
You, yeah.
And just bully.
And it messes with your composure, challenges your composure.
Brady,
right?
I do think Brady is going to be much stronger than him. I don't think that part is so much in doubt. Remember, Gilbert used to fight at 155. You couldn't find a way to make it.
Sometimes people forget because he's covered in so many tats. Brady's built like a brick shit
He's
house.
fucking huge.
Yes.
He's huge. So I do think he's going to be the stronger guy of the two. It's interesting to me, what does Gilbert, because he was going for he has a big kicking game, which I don't think he's going to want to do as much against Brady, because Brady will catch it and then run it back.
Gastelum was his corner was telling him in that fight, do not kick him, do not attempt that.
And he just, didn't really listen all that much. But I think Burns probably will, at least more. But that means he has to get closer to Brady in order to get to get his hands going, which means that the takedown is going to be a little more available. Credit to Belal Muhammad, dude. Belal kind of having this sort of hunched over stance. I'm in the wrong spot. Kind of having this hunched over stance so that he could get his hips behind him and down block.
Yeah.
Brady could never really get all that close with some of those takedowns. Can Gilbert do that over the course of 3, 4, potentially 5 rounds? This is what I mean. This is a really intriguing contest.
It's a chess match that's going to be high speed, high level adjustments mentally. It's going to be a great fight. The Brady sort of, I don't say black cloud or bad. I mean, there's still something lingering from that Belal fight. Even though he bounced back perfectly against Gastelum and dominated, I think there's still questions of whether can he win at this level when the fight isn't contested on his own terms. But for whatever it's worth, the idea that he got fraud checked or whatever against Belal keeps coming up online. And Brady went to media day yesterday and took it and called these keyword warriors back out right in front of everyone. Let's hear it.
Everybody was like, "Oh, he's a fraud. He got fraud."
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Belal," and then
I don't know. I don't understand the fraud check thing. Like, I don't like. First of all, Twitter fucking sucks. It's a cesspool full of miserable people. It's insane. Like, and I'm not like but like these people on there are nuts. Like the shit, you would never say anything that these guys say like to your face. Like there's some fucking dork in their mom's basement just eating Cheetos. But it's how like I got fraud checked, Joey got fraud checked, a bunch of other guys got like. How are you? What's getting fraud checked by a fighter who's in the top 10, top 15? I just don't understand it. So like that's frustrating to see because it's never other fighters who are saying it, and if it is, then like many guys don't do that, you know. But yeah, I don't understand the fraud check thing. But yeah, I guess I got fraud checked by the UFC champion. Thanks, bro.
He kind of nailed parts of that, right?
Yeah, I think parts of it. He nailed a lot of it. I mean, there is such a thing as a fraud check where you get an overhyped prospect that finally goes up against some kind of known quantity, sometimes not even a celebrated one, and gets run over. You would be able to get closer with the who's the Chihuahuas guy? What's his name again?
Raul Rosas.
I wouldn't call it fraud check because he's still so young, but it's something a little bit more like that. If you lose to the guy in a quasi-ish #1 contender fight, who then, was it one fight later, whatever it was, or two fights later, goes on to become a fucking champion in the weight class, that's less a fraud check and more maybe like a little bit of a return to earth. That's okay. There was a little bit of a decline, but you're not a fraud if you're top 5, top 7 in the world.
First of all, it's angry, lazy basement Twitter, guys, and anyone can get caught up in that. But I think the fact that he combusted in a way. I mean, he got stopped by the guy who went on to become champion. No fault. But I think what fuels the haters is the fact that he seemed to fall apart once those punches.
I have a feeling. I went back and I was trying to figure out like what was the problem against Belal. And you can pick up tactical stuff about shot selection and everything else. The issue for me was that he could not keep, like, one of the biggest things is pressure is so important in MMA because so many guys cannot fight going backwards or laterally.
Right.
It's just a big problem. Most guys are not very good at it. And so you're watching Belal pressure Brady. And Brady's response, he was landing on him. Like he landed a couple of good left hooks. There were some body kicks that he landed. He came this close to like taking Belal's head off with a front kick. If you remember, he just missed. But in general, he couldn't find anything to really deter or change Belal's game plan. Belal was kind of able to stay in his face a little bit. And I was watching how he threw. He kind of throws like 1 or 2 punch combinations or like one big strike and then he resets. I would like to see Brady physically commit to striking 100%. A little bit harder to make these guys deterred from trying to get close to him at times.
Because I think what you're saying is fueling the opinion that can he, or the question, can he be the top guy when his A game isn't dominant?
Right.
And there's been a lot of fighters like that. When it's going to script, it's perfect. Can he make those adjustments? That's what he's going to have to prove in this fight because it's 5 rounds against a guy that's so durable despite coming off of a brutal stoppage. But I just don't want to see Gilbert get old in the championship rounds, and this will be the telltale, right? Because Brady's going to bring the fight with a big motor. There's going to be a lot of grappling. I want to see Gilbert will show us if he's old what he does in rounds 4 and 5.
That's right.
If it gets there, ultimately.
Fully agree.
Common opponent time. Does it matter at all that they both grappled Craig Jones in a big showcase and Brady won a decision and Burns got submitted?
Not necessarily, because in the rule set that Brady competed against Jones, I think they had outlawed heel hooks and maybe footlocks of any kind, but I know for a fact they couldn't do heel hooks. You're taking away a very significant weapon to make that contest more equal.
So does Brady tap Gabby?
I'm sure. I wouldn't doubt it.
How about submission?
She had both of her nipples pierced. That's very aggressive.
That is very aggressive.
That's a lot.
But, yeah.
That's a lot. But either way, if you're asking whose ground game is better, certainly in pure jiu-jitsu, Gilbert has done vastly better. If you're talking about MMA and who is, sort of physically suited for the weight class, you might give a slight lean to like who's got the best version of a game. The top game of Brady might be the best, but I can't underrate this. Burns' ability to wrestle up, Burns' ability to find the back, Burns' ability to create and scramble, I think is superb. I do think he would have a hard time holding Brady down without taking the back. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Dude, Brady went to full mount 4 times against Gastelum, who's certainly not awful on the ground.
He's not Gilbert Burns.
Right, but not awful. Went to full mount and was just
Yeah.
raining down on him.
No, he's very good. And he would give up the back when you would see Gastelum sit up. He'd take the far side hook out, put the near side hook in, and then Turk it and leg ride it so he couldn't move and destabilize him. Like things like that. He's very even. We had Michael Chiesa. Remember we did room service divers with him, and he was like, dude,
great.
he was like, dude, Sean Brady's grip felt like being held by a gorilla. Like he couldn't believe how strong.
Okay,
he
so
was.
if Sean puts together the striking, this is interesting. I think what is going to make this fight extra exciting, the length of it, is that if there's one thing that Gilbert's shown with age, I think his output is down, which is natural. But like he showed against Jack Della, he doesn't need to throw as much if what he's throwing is well-timed and powerful. Do you remember that step-in elbow that he did? It was like a short right hook. Instead, it was a lead elbow. He lands big flush shots like that. He may wobble or drop Brady. It may turn the fight around instantly. So I really feel like this feels like a pick'em, yet the odds have Brady as the favorite. But
Barely.
I see just as many people going, Brady's wrestling is better, and that's the difference, as there are people that are going, you're giving me plus money on Gilbert right now after what he did to Magdalena before the stoppage.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What do you know the DraftKings odds, Naseda?
I got Gilbert on DraftKings plus 164. That was
So
a
you're
couple
taking
days ago.
Gilbert?
Yeah, just because he's a dog.
Main card minute going live Saturday?
Yes, sir.
It's the best
Tune in,
podcast
7
not
p.m.
named MK, I think. You know, is Gaff going to be ripping bong hits live?
Of course.
Oh,
Always.
all right. That's worth the price of admission right there. Luke, do you have a pick here? Are you feeling a direction? I love what this does. I love what the winner's going to get. The loser's going to take a step back. There's no question about that. A pretty big step back, right?
If it's Brady, it's recoverable. If it's Gilbert, it's not.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So that's an interesting one. I mean, here's the thing. Gilbert has proven more and has proven to be more well-rounded. But at age 38, I simply don't know what's left. And I'm saying that. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. I'd probably slightly lean Brady as well. But it's tough.
Dude,
That's a tough
we
one.
cannot. Can we just say this out loud? We cannot count out Gilbert Burns.
I'm not counting him out.
He may have
I
a
said
moment.
slight lean Brady. Slight lean.
These guys just still find new ways to resurrect.
Like, dude, if Gilbert ended up like punishing Brady on the feet a little bit, taking his back and choking him out, I mean, that would be impressive, but would you be shocked? No. Why would you be shocked? He's been doing this shit to guys for a long, or versions of that for a long time. And again, I want to say it one more time, like of all the differences between their games, the vast experience that Gilbert Burns has against every kind of opponent that is available to him, he is just much more battle tested. Much more battle tested.
Indeed. Can't wait for this one. Luke, how far does the winner make a leap? Like, what are we talking about contention wise here?
I have not seen the rankings, so I'm a little
6
bit
and 8.
6 and 8, yeah, probably top 5-ish, something like that. It depends on who else is in the top 5.
I mean, they're still keeping Colby there. They're still keeping Kamaru there.
How the fuck is
Shavkat.
Colby in the top 5?
It looks like
how the fuck
Shavkat's
is that
next.
possible?
It looks like Shavkat's next, and I think who would Usman fight?
Chimaev.
Could be. Who was just talking about fighting Usman? I don't know.
Bilal's talking about
Bilal's
fighting
fighting
Usman.
him,
That's what I'm
which I have
talking
no
about.
interest in.
Yeah, I think you got to do Shavkat next. So Usman's going to need a big fight. Dustin Poirier just KO'd the idea of Colby for MSG. He said he's not going to help Colby make money. So that's good because I don't love that fight.
No, I don't like that fight much either.
But that's not even in that division. It's in that division, but it's not like a contention fight. Yeah, the winner's going to take a big leap. We'll see. I mean, Jack Della Maddalena has a 1-up because he beat Gilbert. What about Jack Della against Kamaru Usman? Damn.
That's interesting. I think JDM wins that one though, dude. So I went over the break. I did a tape study on like how the hell did Belal get those takedowns when Kamaru couldn't, and I went back and I watched the third fight between Kamaru and Leon. Dude, Kamaru's physicality is noticeably dropped off. And part of the reason Belal did so well is because he was actually able to get a low explosive shot into Leon for the takedown, and Kamaru just kind of falls into it because he just cannot explode into position. And I'm like, dude, Della Maddalena is not the wrestler that Kamaru is, but he is going to be in a much better athletic state.
Well, we remember Kamaru as a true, like he'll be probably like a Hall of Famer and all that. He was the pound for pound king at one
For sure,
point.
Hall of Famer.
The
Yeah.
streak he had was incredible. But will we consider him an not upper room? I usually think there's about 5 guys in there, but like an upper tier, top 10, not top 10. I mean,
He's probably the second best welterweight of all time.
but he deserves flowers and royalty for what he accomplished. There's no
For sure.
question.
The difference, there's many differences between GSP and Kamaru. One of them is just as a popular attraction, GSP was massively bigger than Kamaru. Their resumes are actually pretty comparable. I mean, they're not totally the same, but they're pretty comparable. But the level of star power that GSP had was so much bigger than what Kamaru ever had. I'm not trying to knock Kamaru. Like, he did some great things in terms of having big
GSP wasn't
fights.
in the Black Panther sequel, though. I just want to say that.
He was in Captain America. Which one? Winter Soldier?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah.
No, he was in it. Look up which one he
His
played.
dad's from
Balrog. He played
Australia,
Balrog. He was in one of them shits. So he actually was in the Marvel movies. How about that shit,
All
motherfucker?
right, take that shit. Quickly, Luke, on this undercard. Dude, I'm into the co-main. Jessica Andrade against a streaking Natalia Silva, who has looked good from the standpoint of volume and striking. I do question whether her lack of fight finishing power will hold her back at the elite level. This seems to be that perfect test to find out. What do you make of this matchup?
Bit of a volume striker on this one. Obviously, Natalia Silva, I don't know if you put the thing in, she lost her sister.
I did see that this morning, yeah.
7 or so months ago, and it has derailed her. So, we always go back to the Brett Favre game when his dad died, and he wasn't stealing from people using welfare fraud.
Sure.
Does it elevate you or not? Does tragedy create a fire for more? Or
your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary.
By the way, Andrade talking about the potential of a women's BMF fight, and she said publicly this week that Joanna is willing to come out of retirement, which we already knew. Joanna said it, but specifically, Joanna is willing to come out of retirement for an Andrade rematch for the female BMF. Does that do anything to you?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, take out absolutely. If you said it doesn't do much for me, BC.
100% nothing. Don't have any interest. Zero. Nothing. None.
No, say it. Can you bring a voice of reason into this discussion?
I find the idea a little bit comical, if I can be completely candid.
That what, at the lack of meaning for the belt if this matchup happens, or just why waste your time?
Of all the fights that you could make in women's MMA, like, it's not some like terrible thing, but
it's trying to identify savages to put together in an all-action fight for fun.
But I don't know if Joanna at one time certainly was one. Is she still? I really don't know the answer to that.
I don't think you need to put the BMF title on the line, but I like the fight.
Yeah.
Well, the fight only matters if the BMF title is on the line in a lot of ways.
I won't say it only matters, but it matters much more if you do. Yeah,
all right.
For sure.
I want to see if Silva can make that step forward. If she can't, this is the wrong fight for her because Andrade still brings that.
You know who should be in a BMF fight? Wang Tong. That's who I want to see in a fucking BMF fight.
So I've been told that I got it wrong and they got it wrong in the broadcast. It's Song.
Wang Song.
Yes. Spelt what?
So the C is actually kind of like an
TS.
S pronunciation.
Yes.
Wang Song.
They were saying Tong on the broadcast, and then I was told that I was saying it wrong on the show.
I have no fucking idea how it's pronounced, but I know she's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and we should give her fights like that.
Or just get her in line for the title, like start grooming her. Aggressively putting her in place.
Yeah, the Alex Pereira thing.
Like
yeah,
she
I get
said.
it. I'm with it.
No other fights we want to talk about.
Hold on. There actually are a couple that I want to get to very quickly if we can. Matt Schnell is back against Cody Durden, I believe. Oh, no, that one may have been scrapped, but the one that was...
No, that's happening. He was supposed to fight Costa, but he is fighting Durden.
Durden, okay, very good. There was one other one on this that I wanted to note. Actually, no, I take that back. I don't think that there is.
That shit back. You want to transition to the second topic?
Trevor Peek is fighting,
he makes fun fights.
which should be donk.
Dude, he throws helicopters when he gets tired and just squares up. It's great. Yeah.
You're not going to get the most technical fight, but you're probably not going to get a boring one.
That guy's got some dog in him. I like that.
He does. He absolutely has some dog in him. Yes.
Let's go into the second topic here.
Let's do it.
Can I take us in? Do you want me to take us
Please.
in here? You mentioned Poatan. You did. I heard you. Hey, how about Alex Pereira? The idea of him cutting to 185 one more time, as he says, is not fiction, and he wants to make it a fact. He went on Instagram again this week to push for the cause. Let's throw to that quickly. The idea of forget heavyweight for the moment or light heavyweight. He says, I'm focused on my next fight and I'm going prepared, but you never know what can happen. So regardless of the result, I want to go down one more time to middleweight for the belt. Hey, Drickus, bring your will to fight me so you can prove that you are better than me with your public statement. It is easy to make this happen. Chama, bitches. I added the bitches.
Isn't it Shama?
Well, however,
Again, I don't know.
I think it's up to the discretion of the user in this case,
Okay,
Luke, since
all
the
right.
word has no meaning, like chiweewees.
Chiweewees.
This is interesting. Dana White, by the way, who would be normally the guy to sort of cockblock this if it's not in the business interest of the UFC, i.e., when Pereira was talking about moving up, and we were talking about, what about Jon Jones against Poatan for the heavyweight title? Sorry, Aspinall, you got to sit this one out again. And Dana said, no, that's not in our plans. Pereira has a lot to do at light heavyweight. Here's Dana, though, Tuesday night after the Contender Series, seemingly in now on this idea. Let's listen to him.
Disagree. My take on him is he's fucking nasty. That's my take on him. He wants to move up. He wants to move down. He wants to go That's why people love him. Those are the type of fighters that people love. You know, Pereira wants to fight everybody. I love it.
So what do you do with a guy like that when you have a guy like that? And Drickus, hey, look at the run Drickus is on, right? I mean, he's kicked ass and, 1, 2, and 3. I think he's beat in the rankings and everything. So you promise to fight to Strickland. If Drickus comes out of that, would you grant Alex's wish, assuming he beats Khalil?
I don't know. The thing that's great about it is, first of all, I said a minute ago, it's why everybody loves him and he's great. But it also gives us a ton of options that, as we're in matchmaking, should we do this? Should we do that? Shouldn't we do this? Shouldn't we do that? I don't know. It's a good problem to have with a guy like him.
I like the Lumberjack 90s throwback shirt from Dana. It looks like he's the bassist in Collective Soul or something. Like, I'm into that. So Luke, Iole, whose voice you heard in there, Kevin Iole, who's got an app, he wrote a piece that basically said, love the ambition, Poatan, but if you decide to cut your body down at 37, you're probably never going to do the opposite and move back up and fight for the heavyweight title, that there's windows and maybe this slows down or derails that. What is your take, Luke? He's 37 years old. He really could get any huge fight across 3 weight divisions. Is it worth it in his career arc and for the company to potentially make this showdown?
I want to be clear. I have a great degree of interest in seeing DDP fight Alex Pereira. Now, I'm not saying I have a great degree of interest in necessarily seeing it right now, although I wouldn't hate it if they made it. I mean, for example, would I rather see Poatan DDP or Poatan Khalil Roundtree? I think Poatan Khalil Roundtree will be a lot of fun. I don't hate that fight, but I would rather see him fight DDP. But it doesn't have to be made now. It's kind of a luxury fight, right? It's kind of one of those things where you could pull that lever if you needed to, but I think it's a little premature to do it at all, is the first thing I'm going to say. You do have some unresolved issues with Ankalaev, and both Poatan and Ankalaev are fighting in the same month. You need to see how that plays out. If he loses or looks really lackluster or just doesn't have any kind of mandate for more afterwards, then we can kind of revisit it. Simultaneously, at 185, dude, there's finally some really interesting stuff happening at middleweight.
But they don't need Poatan, you could say.
They don't need him. Again, would it be bad? It would certainly not be bad, but you've got this collision course between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev, totally unresolved. Sean Strickland has unfinished business. And of course, there was an announcement yesterday. Anthony Hernandez is going to be in the main event in an upcoming UFC Apex
that
show.
is October 19th. Who's his opponent?
I forget.
You know that?
Michelle Pereira.
Yeah, Michelle Pereira.
Who's streaking. That's a good fight. Yeah.
And so, dude, it's like there's a lot of stuff happening with deserving rising contenders, or in the case of Sean Strickland, former champions, who are still hanging around. And I think that some of that stuff needs to be resolved. Volk didn't go up to fight Islam until he didn't completely clean out featherweight, but he had done a shitload at that point. He had just dispatched Yair Rodriguez. We thought, who can even do anything to this guy? Let's go see what he can do up a weight class. This is obviously a little bit of a different dynamic. I'm just saying he had earned a mandate to try for more at a time when certainly the divisions kind of made it open.
Right.
I don't feel like any of those factors are in place at the moment.
I don't disagree with that. By the way, the Volk Do Bronx rumors that are going around on Twitter, I don't know the truth or reality to them. That excites me. That gets me happy in the happy spot. I mean, it just, wow. Here's my point on this. If I'm the promoter, if I'm Dana White, if I'm Team Poatan, to be fair, while I respect that he's always willing to fight anybody at any time, he keeps such a busy schedule. He's always there when the UFC calls to bail them out at 300. Or, I mean, he could be headlining the Sphere soon, Luke, if somebody gets a cold. You never know. Like, he's that guy. He's willing to do it. But if you are 37 and you have already almost overnight stumbled into one of the greatest resumes in MMA history, which is true, all after becoming a 2-division Hall of Famer in Glory Kickboxing and having beaten Adesanya twice, he walks into the UFC in record time and becomes a 2-division champion. You have a window to do the impossible, or at least attempt it, which is to become the first major promotion 3-division champion. Obviously never happened in UFC history. I just would think, even with the bottleneck at heavyweight and the questions about
that's going to be resolved
when
soon.
John Stipe, will it happen? Will John hang around? Aspinall, all that. No matter who is your heavyweight champion, shouldn't Dana and Pereira's main want be to create a moment of history? Because tell me if I'm putting too much romanticism on here. Should Poatan do that? You could stand up and pull a Floyd Mayweather and print TBE hats and say, I don't care who your favorite fighter is, whether it's Jon Jones, anybody. I'm the fucking greatest of all time. I'm the first 3-division UFC champion. Obviously, it's a big hill to climb to even do that. But if you have the opportunity to do that in your career and you're 37 and the window's closing, I just think promoter and fighter should get in the same room and be like, let's make this happen in a stadium. Let's make this the biggest story in MMA. Tell me where I'm doing too much pro wrestling carnival barking.
I don't think you are. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, talking about the Sphere show with fans online, there is so much negativity around the Sphere show, which part of which I completely understand. The ticket prices are high. The card quality, I think some of that is fair. Some of that is not so fair. The branding's a little bit weird. But the UFC is finally going into pageantry. They're finally going into spectacle. Yes. And if you lived through the heyday of the Pride Fighting Championships, this is like so welcome. Don't know whether they'll pull it off, but I'm glad that the attempt is there. To the point that you raise about Poatan, listen, we should not lose sight of the fact that even if Poatan goes down or DDP goes up, having two champions fight each other in the UFC is still special. Yes. It is still something that is not typical, and we should always be celebratory of that fact. But I'm with you. I don't think Jon Jones is going to fight past Stipe Miocic unless he loses to Stipe, in which case he'll kind of have to figure out something. But at that point, the fight is then ruined anyway. I think he's done after November, which means the window to get a Tom Aspinall fight. And I would favor Tom to beat Poatan.
Of course.
But to do something different, big, new, exciting, makes you think a little bit, terrifying in certain ways. I think the UFC should absolutely be leaning more into that. And by the way, if you lose to Tom Aspinall, you can easily go back to 205, and there's really no problem there at all. So if there's a division you can kind of put to the side, to me, it's not middleweight right now. It is 205, Ankalaev being a semi-exception to that. Let's see how it plays out. I would much rather see him go up to fight Aspinall than go down to fight DDP.
If I'm the UFC, and I know there's other concerns, the lawsuit financially being one of them, right? They may have to pay out more or what have you. I'm stacking bills and I'm sitting Jon Jones down and I'm saying, John, here's what the vault looks like. After Stipe, you're hanging on for two more. You're giving us Aspinall and you're giving us Poatan, and we will pay you for it. But Luke, I start making that case now. I start building those plans now. Isn't that that's what UFC used to do, right? That's what they still do in certain cases. I mean, they stopped everything and made McGregor versus Khabib at the moment that it could be the biggest fight in the promotion in the sport's history, and it hit. And it hit in a big way, and it had other reasons to hit, from McGregor throwing the dolly to the idea that it's the former champion who never lost it against the current #1 fighter in the world. But there's potential to make like super fights, generational fights here. So it's an interesting topic. Let's get DDP's take. Here's his tweet about it, whether he would welcome it. He says that Alex Pereira,
hey, casual homophobia.
You and your boyfriend Strickland MMA can have a domestic dispute on who gets slept first. He went after a few pockets here in this tweet.
Jesus.
But you know he'd be down for it. The one thing about DDP, he wants.
I don't have any doubt he would.
He wants to smoke.
He would go up to 205. He would welcome it at 185. But also, just for Poatan's sake, dude, DDP is a goddamn tank. I would rather see that at 205 as well. Like, if you had to rank the options, me, Poatan at heavyweight is number 1. 2, DDP up at 205. 3, Poatan at 185. That's my power ranking.
You can't lose. That's Parker Lewis, baby. You
can't lose in any of those 3. But what's your ranking, Aussie Rules, Luke? About the same?
I agree with you. I'd rather see DDP go up.
Okay.
By the way, don't confuse Long Island Luke with the third Luke from Malka, Australian Luke, who was from Australia. Now no one's.
And by the way, Australian Luke works for the UFC now.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What's his last name? Can we say that on the air?
Yeah, Luke Sullivan. Shout out Luke Sullivan.
All right, Luke Sullivan.
What does he do for them?
He's a associate producer, I think.
I never thought anyone from Malka was going anywhere.
Oh, stop that. Let's just get out of here. It's not like all those guys are unemployed and showing up on the Main Card Minute podcast right now, right? I mean, yeah, there you go. All right.
The pipeline from Malka to the unemployment line is direct and noted.
Let's slide into category number 3 here. It's involving the greatest fighter of all time. Maybe even your pound-for-pound king, depending on which throne you sit on. I'm talking about Jon Jones. I'm talking about Tuesday's Dana White Contender Series. Look, there's an argument to be made here that Dana White, the last few weeks, is like either softening or getting media-friendly more, or maybe just playing into his own absurdity. Here was the commercial that was run Tuesday, not to announce Jon versus Stipe. That fight is still not finalized, although it's obviously their hope and intention. Dana White put out a Jon Jones is the greatest ever commercial. Here's what it looked like.
Champion in UFC history at 23 years old.
Oh, my goodness! Jon Jones!
That, wins in the history of this organization.
Avoided no one, dominated everyone. The most unique talent in the history of sport.
You cannot deny the greatness, taking out champion after champion, legend after legend.
Jon Jones is not willing to lose.
I'm the greatest of all time. Come get a taste. When you talk about who's the baddest dude in the world, you put two guys in a room, and Jon Jones walks out of that room every time.
King of the game, I'm doing my thing, I'm paving the way, believe me.
He has remained at the top while still being one of the most exciting fighters on planet Earth.
He's unparalleled. He has dominated all.
Yeah, I've had enough of this.
Luke,
Jesus.
what do you
By the
make
way, avoided no one.
Well, look, here's what I'm saying. Because Dana seems to be laughing at his own jokes now, like he did this on purpose to kind of needle us back, but it's kind of funny, right?
Here's my favorite part about that. Number one, Jon is obviously ducking Tom Aspinall. He didn't avoid anyone at 205. It is true.
Did you see how Jon got played? Somebody took a screenshot of that promo, but then in very small letters at the bottom put "I'm ducking Aspinall," and then Jon reshared it on I think Instagram.
So I did see that, but the point I want to make is at 205. I mean, at 205, it's hard to like if you watched all of Jon Jones' fights, like I don't even know who the close number 2 would even fucking be at this point. I mean, Cormier, I guess, but like
what do you mean number 2 in what sense?
All-time 205er.
Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is one of the 7 best fighters in the history of the sport.
Okay, but the distance between them is significant.
People need to remind themselves of that.
Like, the light heavyweight resumes comparing the two. Jon is the best light heavyweight by a gazillion light years.
Would you shoot me out back if I said that Cormier deserves a higher ranking in history than Aldo?
Yes, I would shoot you out back. Yes, that's a moronic.
I just think that DC gets undercut. Anyway,
Jose
back to the
Aldo helped evolve the game. Cormier did not necessarily do that. And Cormier was fucking awesome.
I mean, Cormier never beat Jones. It's the truth. He never beat Jones.
But dude, I just want to be clear. Like, Jon's resume at 205 is as close to bulletproof in a weight class as anyone's resume gets anywhere.
No doubt. That's not the debate. The debate was pound for pound number 1 now.
So again, my two favorite things are, one, putting in a video that he avoided no one while he is actively avoiding someone.
But can't you
is fucking hilarious.
But can't you argue?
And point two. Very little, not nothing, but very little in that video is evidence of someone who deserves a pound for pound number 1 ranking.
Yes. It's almost
that's the hilarious
It's
part.
almost a shorter version of the Dana 4-minute media takedown videos that we've seen now twice, and I think I'm getting benefits through SAG for my appearances in them. But I kind of like this one. Can we argue back? If we can defend Jon in any way, can we say that he's not ducking until we find out what happens immediately after the Stipe fight? If immediately after the Stipe fight he's retiring, then he's ducking Tom. But you could argue that this is the promotion wanting so badly for this fight to happen that they're just delaying it, right? You could argue that at least. Like, we got to...
Well, listen, if he says after the fight, and then signs to fight Aspinall, well, then, yeah, he's not ducking. But the more time that expires, you find that the notion of him fighting Aspinall increases. I don't know, but I don't find that to be in all a serious thing. Also, the way in which he never went to heavyweight when Francis was there, and then tried to make it seem like he was there all along, and it's like
we'll be there to tell the truth.
It's like, dude, like you picked absolutely. Jon Jones cherry picked not a single soul at 205. He fought generations of these motherfuckers, and they couldn't win. But at heavyweight, it's a completely different ball game for him.
Gonna be wild. Let's get Dana's quick reaction here to this. It seems like he's playing with us.
I have for you. I don't know how long we need to talk about it, but couldn't help but notice a Jon Jones promo that ran tonight.
What?
Yeah. It had a lot of things calling him the GOAT, talking about his accomplishments. Now, is that something you've been planning for a long time that just happened to roll out this week, or was that a direct response to anything that happened here last week?
I was in the back. I didn't even see it air. I didn't even know they aired that.
There was a lot of stats about him, who he's beaten. I don't know.
Did you guys read them?
There was a lot of stuff.
Did you guys read the stats?
It didn't talk a lot about the guys recently that he's beat. It talked about his whole career.
Right. Well, you recently just beat the heavyweight, the number 1 heavyweight in the world. Hope you guys read that stat. You know what is fucking great about technology? We're not far away from AI actually doing these rankings, and it'll be a great fucking day when AI starts doing this shit. So I'm really excited about that.
It does feel like AI is doing the rankings whenever the champion
You don't need AI
loses.
to do the rankings. You just need a basic algorithm that can pump out.
But you know that trope UFC does?
List.
Whenever a champion loses, and if they get dominated, it doesn't matter. They're the number one contender.
I've been harping on that.
I hate that shit.
It drives me fucking insane.
Quick, what do you make of... There's some people that are saying, from the back and forth that Dana had with Kevin Iole a week and a half ago about this same topic, to Dana doing more interviews, it seems, with less Nelk Boy types and real ones. I've seen people online saying, look, right now, UFC's taking a few PR hits, right? The Sphere is an ongoing sort of argument between the fans. There's the lawsuit. There's a lot of things going on. The quality of Fight Night cards, all that. Is this a calculated move by Dana to get back in the good graces, or just be a chum again? Because he's letting people debate him, which never happens.
Yeah, I do think it's a concerted effort. I'm getting the sense that he's being advised to embrace it a little bit more. And I've been saying this pretty consistently. When he does, are you going to hear every answer as some kind of illuminated truth? No, you might find it to be bullshit. He's a promoter.
Right.
Your favorite promoter still bullshits all the time. I think Eddie Hearn's a great promoter. He's full of bullshit a lot. That's the job.
But at least he's welcoming the questions.
That's right. He's welcoming the questions, and to Dana's credit, some of the answers are pretty fucking good, actually. And so I actually feel like it's just better for everyone. It creates a healthier environment for everybody if there's a little bit of cross-pollination rather than these like segregated walls pushing everybody apart. You don't get better information or analysis that way.
Luke, I haven't been following the DWCS timeline as much this season, although I saw that guy, was it Finney Torres? He's going to get a third
crack.
Shirt shot after Dana shot at him after the second. But how about 13-1 underdog on Tuesday night? Uniesi Dubin providing this one punch.
Hold that.
This one-hitter quitter on this Kayla Harrison lookalike, Luke. What do you think of this? Wow.
Yeah. Arriba Venezuela. I mean, this was awesome. Look at her. She fakes like she's going for the takedown, just comes right over the top. She walked into it, though, which is...
Is that like in discussion for KO of the year, or am I pushing this?
Well, Dana was saying that this was the biggest upset in Contender Series history, which
13-1.
That's insane.
So
That's
Dana was
insane.
going nuts after...
By the way, didn't just win, flat KO'd her.
Oh, this is exactly what Dana's looking for, to the degree that he gave her a contract while in the cage. Let's watch this.
You know the phrase, if I was a gambling man. Dana White is a gambling man.
You might as well not even go sit in the back. Why are you playing this game? Incredible.
He did just gave her a contract right there. He just might go to the back.
Hey, that's got to be the biggest upset in Contender Series history.
Yeah, there it is.
And not only did you win,
That's good PR, by the way.
Yeah.
That is good PR.
That's a great video.
Incredible.
Good for her.
Absolutely.
Dude, and also, how much have I been saying we need more of this in the women's game?
Yes.
Somebody just absolutely just trying to fucking lay down the thunder on
Andrade style
someone.
ham hocks.
Let's go.
By the way, you see Andrade suing her ex-manager for stealing $2 million?
Alleging $2 million of embezzlement.
It would make sense because she wasn't that far removed from being champion and was selling her championship shorts and gloves to try to train.
I don't know the merits of the case, but what I could say is, would it surprise you that MMA managers would be entrenched in lawsuits like this? There's a bunch of MMA managers, and I cannot overstate. Some of them are great.
Right, but there's no barrier to entry.
There's no test. There's no nothing. The commission doesn't give a shit how much. Some of them are crooks or just brokers for the UFC.
Oh, there's a lot of those.
And you tell the fighters, dude, this guy is a broker for the UFC. They'd be like, no, I fucking like this guy.
But if you watch the MMA video that came out about this topic, it seems like these guys are also gatekeepers. You almost can't get into the UFC unless you're represented by some of them.
Some of that is true, yes.
So
That's a little overstated, but some of it is true.
Yeah. Shout out to Danny Rube, though. I like that guy, right?
I do like Danny. I have a good relationship with Danny.
Former OU wrestler.
He's got a great head of hair.
Oh, that's unfair. Hey, let's go to point 4. Dana's involved in this, but it's headlined by Turki Alalshikh, the Saudi Arabian maven of that large entertainment fund that is fueling boxing at the moment. So Turki was under fire this week with the Twitter beef with journalist Jake Donovan. We'll get to that in a second. But if Dana looks like he's doing good PR, Turki's done pretty damn good PR since that Twitter dust up. The first bit of it, Luke, and maybe the biggest, announcing a new potential pay-per-view price point for the States, right? Where we're regularly paying $70, $80, $100 for boxing pay-per-views. Not only was Turki giving us deeper cards of late, they go on forever though, but they're deep as shit. He's also now, let's throw to that tweet, announcing a plan that he wants to lower boxing prices to 20 pounds in the UK, $20 worldwide, and said the Better Be B-Vol pay-per-view, which is weird because the main event's on for free on ESPN+, but the undercard is on DAZN and it's a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He's lowering that price to $15 in the States October 12th. and says people will watch illegally because the price is high. This is in the future, will not build boxing. If I give good fights with a good price, it will increase the fam. Or
Michael Benson leading all of his tweets with his excellency is fucking nauseating.
I know. So, Luke, let's talk about this. I will say that England has gotten it right for a while. A big part of why England is always on fire for boxing since the 2012 Olympics with Joshua, in my opinion, is they do these stadium fights, but the ticket prices are affordable to get in, and pay-per-views are generally in that $20 area across the board. If Turki makes this change, and if he's going to launch a boxing league in 2025, like the rumors are, that he's going to be doing big cards, is this a sustainable product that will literally stop people on Team Stream from doing that? If I'm going to have a dude over and I'm only paying $20 for this, and it's going to be a fun night at the fights, forget chasing the streams. It's time to do it. It's time to make good with this woman.
I can't believe we're having this discussion in this way. If it was as simple as lowering the price of pay-per-view to $20 because you believe you would be able to make up the amount of money you would otherwise be losing by dropping the price by creating more sales, what is your working theory for why all of these MSOs, DirecTV, Comcast, which, by the way, they have quants and other business analysts assess why the pay-per-view price is where it is? What is your theory, aside from everyone just being a fucking idiot, that they haven't done this yet in the States?
Because the way the States works with the pay-per-view companies is you're still at a point where you're giving half of your profits, if you're a promoter, to the pay-per-view company for distribution.
Right.
And then number two, the way that the boxing financials are, like, the middle class has been destroyed. You're no longer seeing like high-level championship fights on so-called free TV or cable pay TV. Things have to go to pay-per-view because that's the only way to afford people. That sometimes it's greed, sometimes it's just like, look, this fight can only happen on pay-per-view, and we only have a chance of making money if it's $80 or $90. They know the large percentage are going to stream, but you're hoping that you're going to get what? What's an acceptable pay-per-view in boxing these days? 200,000, 300,000 is like considered as a success, where 10 years ago that was a monster.
$80, 300K buys is $24 million. Yes, that's a significant amount of money.
Without question.
This is the point I'm trying to make. There are fans out there who just believe everyone is dumb but them, and it simply doesn't work that way. The reason why pay-per-view is so much more expensive in the United States versus the UK is, one, we have a much longer history of buying pay-per-view in the United States at higher prices. We've just become accustomed to it. That's part of the reason. The other one is what you mentioned, the boxing economics. It's actually hard to afford some of these shows without it. But I just want folks to understand something. If you had, I did some math on Twitter for this. If you had at $80 for 300K, you'd have 24 million. So if you sold that at 20, you'd have to do 1.2 million buys just to make the same amount of money.
Well, could you argue that great fights would get that if the price was down?
Here's my argument. Yes, I do think there are certain kinds of shows where that model might be able to work.
It has to be a super elite single fight, right?
That's right.
Like a
That's
super
exactly
elite.
right. But the idea that you can just do this at scale, and then this is what basically people are positing. People are positing that these companies with significant financial analysis and quantitative analysis have just decided to punt money away, and there's a much better way of doing it. They just won't. Whereas what the reality is the companies have made a calculated decision. They have figured out you can make more money even if you have a smaller amount of total buys and charging more, because there's a certain kind of person on that night who has to get it. It's premium entertainment, and they want it, and that's why they make more money that way.
Same reason why the boxing ticket prices in Las Vegas are so jacked up and out of whack, because so much of it is going to the casino, which is...
I see so many people being like, if it was $20, I would pay for it versus it being free. I think there are some people that would. Don't get me wrong. If all of a sudden they were $20, would more people pay for pay-per-view? I mean, there's no doubt in my mind it would go up.
Yeah, but
would it go up enough for the company to make money relative to what it was making before, with the exception of a couple of shows here or there? Fuck no,
well,
let
me say two things to that. One, we have to understand that Turki's coming from a much different spot than Bob Arum, ESPN, Al Heyman, and PBC Amazon are coming from.
He has unlimited money.
He has unlimited money, and they're used to these pay-per-views just tanking. So if he can create something that I believe is positive boxing PR, if he's going to act the role of boxing Santa Claus.
Also sports washing.
Without question. If he's going to act the role of boxing Santa Claus, here's what's not going to work. Getting into beefs with fighters, that's going to look bad publicly.
Yep.
Getting into beefs with journalists, which again, we'll get to in a second, it's going to look bad publicly. But if you act like a benevolent boxing superman, and you're saying, okay, fans, even if it's for show, I think it's a good look.
Which is for show,
but I don't think these other promoters can afford to do it that way. Now, the key question that we're asking here, and the real question that you're asking, is like, could it work? I just think if combat sports fans, and a lot of them are young, sophisticated internet dwellers that know the dark end of the web too, dude, this is so easy to stream at this point. It's like
Also-
diabolically easy. Even with a shorter price point, why are they going to pay when they don't have to and they're used to this? Why are they going to pay?
So the argument would be, well, listen, sometimes those streaming sites can be a little bit inconsistent. If I knew I could have a consistent HD crisp feed for $20, I'd be willing to pay that amount. But here's the problem. DAZN's feed is sometimes inconsistent. Holy shit, ESPN Plus, need I say more about the inconsistency?
I've never heard you rant about that at all.
Their fucking
Yeah.
services? I mean, they're just some of the worst in the entire...
Didn't you compare it to the Phantom Menace at various points?
The point I'm trying to make is, BC, the economics don't work. This is clearly a PR stunt. Now, to your point, BC, I'm happy for it. Like $20 for a pay-per-view on the Saudis picking up the tab for everybody? What's the harm? What's the harm? I just want folks to understand the people who charge the amount of money. Could they charge less, right? Could they relax the price point to a degree? Yes, of course they could. But it could never be at a point where it beats piracy and also makes your pocketbook. Also, the last thing on this, BC, when DAZN launched in 2018
They
in the
were
United
going to
States,
kill pay-per-view.
what was their monthly ask in 2018?
What was it, $9.99?
$9.99. Do you know what it is today?
I'm going to guess 26.
It's $19.99 a month, which doesn't even include pay-per-view.
Right. Now,
the model doesn't fucking work, except for maybe. Here's the last thing. The Netflix equation. Now, that's a difference maker.
That is a difference maker. Long Island Luke is kind of like our stuttering John man on the street that gives us regular people answers.
He does also masturbate back there, which is really,
he does.
It's
but
very gross.
I believe I can out you as on Team Stream, right? Long Island Luke. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
Are people like you? You're a great example of a great combat sports fan. Are people like you going to stop breaking the rules for $20?
I'm going to say no, but I do agree with Luke that maybe if it got a little wonky, I might be like, all right, I'll bite the bullet on the $20.
20 is really nothing. So that's interesting.
It's just an imaginary number. Like, oh, if it was 20, I'd do it. But there's no economics behind that number.
I'm going to build a bridge to get to Dana. Let's talk Turkey. He also put this thing out. Golden Boy tweet. Let's see this. He announces that he's partnering with Oscar De La Hoya of Golden Boy. I just hanged up on the phone with my friend. We had a long talk, and I decided the card of Latinos Night in Riyadh season will be partnered with Golden Boy for free on TV networks and platforms around the world. Luke, does this feel like, and he writes at the end, we care about boxing fans that this card is for free. Kind of feels like the UFC a year ago in Vegas, building their inroads into crashing the party for the Mexican boxing holidays, Cinco de Mayo, September Independence Day, and putting the Fight Night show with Shevchenko on as a non-pay-per-view. The benevolent move, right? Kind of. It's strategic, but it's not awful.
It's strategic, but it's not awful. I think it's exactly right. I mean, just on pure boxing terms, I think it's a great idea. There's nothing wrong with it.
I think part of this is cleaning up the image. You'll tell me. Let's show now the Twitter war that earlier this week.
He's clearly in desperate need of a PR fix.
So Jake Donovan doesn't fuck around. Former boxing scene writer. Or is he still? Who's he writing for now?
The
Ring Magazine.
The Ring Magazine.
So he wrote. So Jake had been writing critical tweets of the lengths of shows for Turkey and the way that some in boxing have bowed down.
So this came from Jake noting that they were promoting the Sphere on screen for a boxing show, and he was like, what the fuck are you doing?
And Jake's great. Old school, doesn't take shit. Proud Boricua. Is that the right word? Boricua. He put that out. So Turkey basically called him a coward in one tweet and then specifically said, don't be ashamed to be a coward. Not all the people have courage. You deleted the tweet half hour ago, and if you kept it, it wouldn't have meant anything. The only thing worth it in your count is the Ring Magazine name. Luke, people were talking about, Bonesaw going to arrive in the mail, or maybe they're going to get Khashoggi. Is he going to call us Oscar because Golden Boy owns, the Ring Magazine? To Jake's credit, he stood his ground and said, fuck you and good night. The nicest way to tell you off. But then Jake puts out that a mutual friend reached out to both, and while they didn't talk directly, they agreed to remove the post and move forward, and Turkey responded to this with some emojis of like a thumbs up. So what do you think happened to repair this?
I think that the Saudis are used to people like Michael Benson, his obsequiousness, calling Turki Alalshikh his excellency. I'm not here to calling out to be unnecessarily rude or provocative, but to treat him like you would any other actor in the boxing space, essentially. And I just don't think that some of these guys who are sort of the Saudi inner circle are just accustomed to having people talk to them this way. And it probably rubbed him the wrong way. But I think he also is smart enough to understand There are some business considerations here. And
It's really bad PR to act like.
And remember, it's not just getting sideways with Jake. Getting sideways with Canelo, I think was
Tank and Tim Tszyu, all PBC guys.
Well, Tim Tszyu had kind of been like, I wouldn't mind working with. There
right.
was some misunderstanding apparently, but certainly he got sideways with Canelo. Remember, he even told Mike Coppinger of ESPN, "Oh, we're going to drown," or whatever the verbiage was
for next week, September 14th,
for the Sphere show. And I think getting sideways with them, he felt the blowback and didn't like the way that it felt. So how long this will last, I don't know. And again, if he's going to lower price points to $15 or $20, who's against it? It's just you have to understand the reality. If this was a viable strategy for other actors in the space to do it, to make money, they would have done that shit by now.
All right, let's bring in the Dana White element. Talk about the potential for the superpowers here aligning. We know that the rumor is, remember when Reuters and the New York Times put it out, that Turki Alalshikh is hoping to in some way consolidate the biggest promotions and launch a league next year in boxing. Luke, I've heard the idea of almost tournaments in every division. Like,
Did
there's
you
a lot
make
of
an
rumors
announcement to the listeners?
Floating
the
around. I will when it's time. But here is Dana White on Tuesday night and our good friend Alan Dawson of, I believe, Boxing World News for this one, asking a key question about Dana's potential involvement.
Turki Alalshikh wants to create a league in boxing that he wants to apparently launch early 2025. Is that something TKO Boxing could help with?
Huh. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Who knows? Have a great night.
So, Luke, there's a mic drop moment. I'm not here to talk on the, the sort of fun, evil sides of their personality. Oh, we got illegal, evil superpowers. These are arguably the two most powerful men in combat sports, right? Arguably.
Two of the most powerful. I mean, Al Heyman's in that conversation.
Without a question.
Yeah.
If they come together and pool their resources, name value, history, money, executional skills, everything, what could this mean to boxing?
I don't know exactly. I mean, you should. Okay. I don't. Can you just tell the folks the gig you got at a bare minimum?
Oh, yeah. So everyone knows that UFC CEO Dana White is a big fan of unbeaten Irish prospect Callum King Walsh, who's, of course, a dating Tabitha Ricci in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
You see him front row at so many UFC fights out of California these days from Ireland. He's going to have a homecoming fight Friday, September 20th in Dublin on UFC Fight Pass, where he's been fighting. Tom Loeffler of 360 Promotions is the promoter. And Luke, this is a big deal. Dana's going to be there. And as Dana has said publicly, he's not Callum Walsh's manager, but he's been helping him out financially. He believes in him as a prospect. He wants him to have this big moment. So I got a chance to be on the call at UFC Fight Pass September 20th.
Hey, where's the hip hop horn? Fuckface. There we go.
This is a big deal to me. It's me, Raul Marquez, my buddy of Showtime and Showbox fame, and Corey Erdman, one of the better growing.
He's great.
Blow-by-blow men in the game today, and a great dude, boxing writer. The three of us are going to be on the call. This is a big deal for me. I'm calling a fight in Ireland at the 3 Arena with that crowd and that energy there. It's certainly a really tough fight for Callum Walsh as he's fighting a top-ranked Polish opponent. I haven't figured out how to pronounce the name in a good way yet, so I'll wait on that. But I wonder, what this means for UFC's involvement in the future.
They have been kicking the tires on boxing for some time. This is like a bigger push into it.
Sure.
Getting Saudi money to bankroll some of it, because the UFC probably doesn't want to pay boxing salaries, but they probably do want to sign superstars that people care about, or at least some level, maybe not Tank Davis level superstar, but some kind of Tim Tszyu potentially level fighter. They would maybe want to get involved with the Saudis to bankroll some of that. I don't know. It's hard to really say. I do think, though, it's pretty clear that the UFC is once again kicking the tires on boxing. And if they can find a way to make it work, they will do more of this.
They took the time and energy and resources from Power Slap and put it into boxing. We've always said, what would it look like if Dana White made a big move into boxing?
Well, it would just be
now if he's got a war chest next to him, of almost unlimited
it's still going to
money?
be weird trying to explain the pay discrepancy between the boxers and the MMA fighters. That's a problem for them to solve. But yes.
And you did get people saying, Eric McGracken, our buddy on Twitter, a lot of people saying, oh, so now you're going to have two monopolies that you're going to be a part of potentially. I mean, it is a power monopoly move from Dana that's like, you think this is a monopoly. Watch what we can do.
We just have to see how it plays out.
I'm excited
If they're doing the Callum Walsh one-offs, then that's only good for guys like that. There's actually nothing wrong about that at all. We just have to see what they're going to do.
It is an interesting develop to follow closely. Topic number 5 to close out before we hear from you, the fans, and get into my Shiat is a little bit of looking back and looking forward. Let's start with the recap from Tuesday morning. Breakfast with Inoue in Japan, the pound-for-pound ranked. I currently have him number 2 on my CBS Sports list. and undisputed junior featherweight champion Naoya Inoue was back. A quick defense against former champion and veteran TJ Doheny of Ireland. He now fights out of Australia. Yes, he was 37 coming in, but Doheny was billed as sort of a Japanese destroyer. He had won his world title in 2019 on Japanese soil and entered this fight with 3 straight knockouts in Japan against Japanese opponents. Luke, in the end, we've got the destruction we expected from the standpoint that it was a 7th round stoppage. Doheny caught a combination to the body where Inoue was really targeting in those middle rounds and ultimately lost feeling in the back of his right leg. He held his back and it was sort of an injury stoppage, but obviously the punches sort of broke him down physically. But I think because Inoue took his time, was more defensive and calculated than normal, I did see a lot of people on Twitter going, see, this is proof this guy isn't the destroyer you think he is.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
What's your take coming out of this fight?
Yeah, shut the fuck up is my take.
You little prick.
You little prick. Shut the fuck up. It's just so fucking stupid. Now, listen, did the fight go longer than expected on my live stream that morning? I predicted Inoue in 7. I nailed it.
Nice.
Exactly. So that was pretty great. He definitely took his time. There's no question about that. He did not have the same kind of fire and intensity that he did in the last bout against Luis Nery. I don't think there's really, no matter where you come down in this debate, there's no question about that. But 2 things I'm going to say. One, Doheny, however you properly pronounce it, that's how they were pronouncing it on the broadcast. I don't know.
I never saw you worry about a white man's pronunciation, to be fair, right? You know?
Well, there are white Hispanics.
Yeah.
There are white Hispanics. That's a great thing. But in all seriousness, a couple things happened. One, Doheny was a little bit crafty. He was a little bit crafty.
Southpaw with pop?
That's right, a little bit crafty. Number 2, he was also very defensive himself for long stretches.
Yes.
There was a couple of rounds he was letting it go, but really not exactly. He wasn't doing that. More to the point, I have a whole breakdown coming out. It's actually done.
Oh, nice. Go to LukeThomas.com.
I just, no, that's not going to help you. It's youtube.com/Luke Thomas.
Got it.
But Naoya Inoue, how he destroyed the body of TJ Doheny.
Yes.
And the body work was absolutely impeccable to the point where this guy basically got paralyzed, albeit temporarily, as you did indicated, over the top of his hip on his right side. This was a fight that probably should not have happened. I think you can make that criticism. Like, of all the guys he should be fighting, it should have been Murodjon Akhmadaliev. That's the guy that I think most people want to see him up against next, or potentially at 126. This fight was at 122. The idea that he, you know what this performance reminded me of? It reminded me a little bit of Boots against Chukadzian.
Yes.
Where he didn't mind getting hit, and he was fighting a crafty guy who just didn't want to exchange with him. Now, obviously, at 37 and Inoue being pound for pound, he was able to like corral him and hurt him more. But Boots didn't come out of that fight looking like super awesome necessarily either. Then he goes and fights Roman Villa and looks fucking awesome.
Sure.
So,
dude,
slow the roll on the Inoue hating.
Here's what people missed on this. So against Nery, a legitimate puncher for this weight class, former champion at 118, he came in guns blazing like Inoue tends to do, and what happened? He ended up on his back, right? It was sort of like maybe there are and what was the even though we gave Inoue so much credit for getting up against Nery and then systematically taking him out and stopping him like he does, there were a lot of people that are saying that with the right fighter, maybe there's the blueprint of how you get to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did he do in the time between that fight and this fight? Obviously worked on his defense, his distance management, and any other holes, which are rare to find in his game. And I thought the fact that he came out aggressive, but aggressive from mid-range, touching Doheny, and after about 3 rounds, Doheny was not throwing back in return, was very defensive, trying to, extend the fight. What did Inoue do? He made the transition to become the counterpuncher, knowing that that's the only way he's going to find those openings is if Doheny gives it to him. And I think he allowed Doheny to get off with that lead looping right hand. It wasn't hurting him. It was opening up the guard. And then that's when Inoue came in to the body focusing and then really started to back him up with body combinations. If you look at the punch numbers, Doheny basically attempted and landed single digits in the first 3 rounds. And it was when Inoue purposely would back up into the corner, letting Doheny in, that Doheny got a little bit of offense out, but it opened up the room that he needed. That's all pound for pound IQ. That's a guy who didn't put himself in harm's range for big shots, made the adjustments necessary, still got rid of him. And if you want to talk about efficiency, what do we always say about Gervonta, Canelo? That they're killers, but they're efficient killers. Inoue landed 46% of his punches in this fight, 53% of his power shots, and limited his opponent to single-digit landings in 5 of 7 rounds. dude, that's domination. And the fact that he adjusted from the Neri fight, because he knows, Luke, that there's big fights to come. Bob Arum came in the ring afterwards and said,
"Gonna fight in America."
He said he's going to come back in December in Japan. There's some talk it could be Sam Goodman from Australia, maybe Murjan Akhmadaliev. But then Bob said we're going to do a big fight in 2025 early in Vegas. Luke, a lot of talk that could be unbeaten bantamweight champion and Japanese growing superstar
Nakatani?
Junto Nakatani, who can bang.
Who had KO of the year last year, right? Where he sat that guy down.
He did have a big one. I'm
I
trying
thought
to
the guy
remember
fucking
exactly
died
which one
when he did that.
Oh yeah. I got to look that up. Dude, that he's going big places and in big directions. I love the fact that he fixed a sort of a hole in his game and a glitch. Came out too aggressive against a power puncher. Fixed that. Dude, Doheny had nothing for him.
I do disagree with your analysis a
In
little
what
bit.
way?
So I do recognize that there was a round there where he was kind of almost himself against the ropes, inviting Doheny in.
Sure.
So it's not to say that that didn't happen. I don't see that as materially a reason why the fight went the way that it went. In fact, I think it's the opposite. To me, what you really get from this performance is there was a little bit of that kind of playing him and loosening him up a little bit.
He stopped taking the lead. He
almost for a short amount of time. Almost all of the best offense he had came from pressuring Doheny up against the ropes. That's one. And then two, getting him to break his stance. That was what he wanted to do. And as you saw it, for example, he would go jab and then cross to the body. He'd push Doheny into the ropes. Doheny would ricochet back, and then he would double up on the same side. That was one. But it was all about getting him in the corner, feinting him into the corner, and then making him kind of lean where if I'm in this position, I might have some defensive options, but I'm not in a strong position to attack. And that's when the combinations flowed. And what's the best body punch that he has? It's that left hook to the goddamn side or liver. That's his number one body punch.
He also does a right cross to the chest that always throws his opponents off.
I agree, but that's his number two best body punch. It was once he got the combinations flowing from Doheny being here that all the damage really began to accumulate. That's my read on the fight.
Well, I guess me now breaking it down that way is as I think the biggest punches Doheny landed was because of that switch in style and in placement.
It did open him up a little bit.
And I think that was his goal because you watch he was getting a little bit frustrated because Doheny wasn't throwing back and was covering up.
But I'm just saying if I had to list the reasons why Inoue got the job done, it has to be from the pressure game he applied.
Oh, he went from counterpunching in each round back into pressure, but he needed to create those openings to sort of start that chain of reaction. Either way, brilliant across the board.
Yeah.
Big fights coming for him. Number two.
By the way, and Doheny was crafty. I know some people were like, he won a round or two, but, Inoue couldn't quite get going as fast as he wanted to, and in part because Doheny was making it a little bit difficult for him. I give him a little bit of credit.
I did feel like there were certain points where it almost felt like Inoue was not carrying him, but like really committing to setting him up and playing like not the long game, but
carrying.
The mid game.
I disagree with, but taking his time a little more than normal. Yes, I fully agree with.
It's going to be interesting. I have him number 2. I have Bud at 3, Usyk number 1, 4 and 5 are Better Beef, then Bivol, Canelo at 6. Where do you have Inoue at this moment, pound for pound? If you even think about stuff.
I probably have him number 2.
After Usyk or after Crawford?
After Usyk. I would have Bud probably 3.
Interesting. Great times. Great. By the way, people don't even talk about we're going to get Fury Usyk 2 in December. Like,
it's fucking insane.
Like anything I could say at any point, oh, Turkey made a misstep or she shouldn't have said that. We're still getting these big ticket deliveries that
Listen,
are
as long
insane.
as he's delivering them, who's upset about it?
Indeed.
Right?
All right, let's look ahead to this weekend as we continue topic number 5. Luke, we don't talk about Bellator much for good reason, but they do have a card
nubs
Saturday night in San Diego. And it's the return of really one of the top young fighters that we've been following, Usman Nurmagomedov. His first fight in 11 months since he had that no contest there. I believe it was against Brent Premise, right? That was part of the tournament that they were doing for $1 million. He failed the drug test, but then he wasn't ultimately stripped of the title. But then Bellator happened. We never got the conclusion of that $1 million tournament. Either way, Nurmagomedov's back, and he's going to defend for whatever it's worth the Bellator lightweight title against Alexander Chablis. So, Luke, the fight doesn't blow. It will be good to see Usman, but it does feel like all of these big-name Bellator fighters that aren't in PFL, that are in the PFLator space, the Johnny Eblins, the Patchy Mix, they're just sort of lingering out there in space, like Princess Leia in episode 8, right? Which was just ridiculous. Remember, she was just floating through space?
She went right back. That was Last Jedi.
Like, I'm going to watch this. I love Usman Nurmagomedov. But these big names have to get out of Bellator, and they got to fold that already, right?
It's a complete waste of time. I mean, we said this when they folded it. Bellator has no fan base. It doesn't exist. And you're like, oh, what about when they went to Ireland? But, like, you can just replace that with PFL, and they would probably do just as well. Like, Are people that attached to the Bellator brand? They ran that.
Thackerville, it's hot. It's hot in Thackerville. Right?
The brand was run into the ground. That's just the reality of it. But that doesn't mean that they don't have quality fighters. They absolutely.
Why isn't Usman on ESPN and fighting for PFL right now?
A little birdie told me that there might be a contract clause that they, as we've indicated previously, that they have to keep Bellator alive for at least a year for television purposes.
Okay.
So I guess we'll see how that goes. It feels like a gigantic waste of time, but also like PFL, we're just going to keep doing our tournament. It's like, I mean, there has never been a bigger bridge to nowhere than PFL thinking that the tournament model is going to change their fortunes. It's fucking insane to me.
Sarah Palin can see the Soviet Union from her kitchen window in Wasilia.
She can go back in time. But the point I want to make is this main event at 155 between undefeated Usman Nurmagomedov and Alexander Chablis is fucking great.
It is a good-ass fight, yeah.
It's a great fight. Chablis is crafty. I think he's got like almost 30 fights. He is well-rounded. He can wrestle. Usman is well-rounded as well, but I think sometimes can be a little bit patient with his offense, where I feel like Chablis kind of goes after it a little bit more. It's an interesting style clash. It's like one of the, honestly, list the best 155 fights you can make outside of the UFC. This is one of them.
It is.
This is easily one of them.
I still think Usman Nurmagomedov is must-see TV. The way that he has just come on the scene, the command that he has. Dude, he looks UFC elite ready, like at this.
I mean, could he be champion? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how far away he is, but I think he's within
But he would be top 5 at a bare minimum.
He's within top 10 range to make a run at it.
Yeah.
There's no question. More MMA this weekend, Friday night.
Oh, by the way, hold on real quickly. Douglas Lima against Aaron Jeffrey. That's kind of like a whether they got left match.
Sure.
Co-main event. Don't forget Lorenz Larkin, when he left UFC to go to Bellator, was a big fanfare. He fought at the Bellator NYC card. And like most people, when they join Bellator, they just become a black hole of PR where people forget that they're even there.
On MK documentary number 3, he challenged me for not voting for him in the Bellator rankings in the top 10.
Oh, I remember
even though
that.
he wasn't eligible in their online computer system for that division. That's why.
He's fighting a guy who I didn't think was all that great at first, but now I think is very good, in Levon Chokoli. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, a Georgian guy.
Yes.
And then the last win he had over Alan Dominguez was nice. He had a loss before that to Koreshkov, which was a split decision, but then before that, Mukmed Berkamov, if you didn't see that win he got, that elbow KO,
yes,
Lorenz Larkin still has a little bit left in the tank. So this is my point. If you watch this Bellator card, there might actually be some fun stuff, high-level stuff on it. But here's what blows my goddamn mind. There's another show the same day as the Canelo Sphere show on September 14th, all the way in Europe. I think it's in Ireland, but it's all the way in Europe.
Yeah,
and it's
but they're
like,
not competing for the same fans, though.
What is the business model?
It must.
What the fuck is the business
It
model?
must be. You alluded to some contractual obligation, but it must be tied into, like, did Coker get deals with all these arenas ahead of time in some of these international countries, and they're just trying to play out these pre-established deals? It's hard to tell.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know.
It's hard to care. What do you care, though? Friday night, one championship is going to have 168 back on American soil. They do plan on being here a good amount this year. It's at the Ball Arena in Denver. Injuries did hurt this card a good deal when Stan Fairtex fell out early. And then Luke Cade Rotolo, fresh off of that CGI bout that you said was the most exciting bout in grappling
him versus
history.
Andrew Tackett, they're calling it the best no-gi grappling match of all time.
He was supposed to be in a submission grappling title fight with Mikey Musumeci, who now has late replacement Bebeto Oliveira in the co-main. The main event here is the bantamweight Muay Thai title, as Jonathan Haggerty welcomes Superlek Kia.
You can just say Superlek.
Superlek. Luke, Long Island, don't we have a DM associated with this? Can you play that, or did you delete that?
Yeah, I'll pull that up.
All right. Let's hear from a DM from Donk, and you can answer this, Luke. Okay. This is from Dark_Miziki. What's your level of excitement for the one card? He says, I think it's pretty good, but I was hoping for some bigger names with their first show back in the U.S. Remember, they had Demetrius Johnson, Rod Tang, and Stamp on the first U.S. show.
And wasn't, Aussie Rules Luke, was Sage Northcutt on that Denver show?
Yes. Yep.
Right. This is not that. Now, this is what's interesting to me. I looked at this card. I think that I counted 5 Muay Thai bouts and 6 MMA bouts. This card is almost half Muay Thai.
What do you make of that?
I don't know what's happening with one championship. So let's back up a step. Renier de Ridder, who was a previous 2-weight champion, says, eat shit, I'm going to go fight in the Middle East on another card. It was Brave or one of the UAE cards. I can't remember the name of it.
Certainly brave move by him.
Well, he claimed that he was done with him. One came out and was like, "Oh no, you're not," but he just did it anyway. Well, I don't know what contractual ability they have to enforce this. And then you won't know this name, but he's one of their top, easily one of their top talents. Chingiz Alazov was like, "Yeah, I'm done with one," and then one was like, "No, he's not." There was supposed to be some kind of press conference clarifying this, and it never happened. Have you not noticed that Chatri has been very, very quiet of late?
I have noticed that. Yes.
I don't know what is happening, but it feels like not all is well. And so to the point,
I'd give you that. I'd give
to
you
the point
that.
is, I don't think that this card is bad. Actually, quite the contrary. The main event between Jonathan Haggerty and Superlek, and I'm hardly any kind of Muay Thai or kickboxing aficionado, but even some of the research I did in preparation for today's show to understand this better, dude, this is champ. This is basically they fought previously in 2018. The fight was stopped, I think, due to cuts, and Haggerty lost. But Haggerty has since gone up in weight. Now Superlek is going to go up in weight, and they're going to meet essentially in the middle for the bantamweight title. This is an all-time fight. Some people consider Superlek to be the best in the world. Haggerty is a champ there in both kickboxing and Muay Thai because there's separate rules like elbows and whatnot about what you can use. Dude, that fight is fucking sick.
Haggerty
that fight is sick.
Hasn't lost since Rod Tang knocked him out by body punches in 2020.
Right. He has gotten significantly better since
He's on a
then.
hell of a streak right now.
And to that point, Musumeci comes in and saves the day, even though Cade Ruotolo went out and they couldn't make it work. It's not like there's nothing of value on this card.
John Lineker's back.
John Lineker's back. Also, the Adrian Lee of the famous Lee family is going to be fighting on this card. They've also got a light heavyweight, Shamil Erdogan, who out of Turkey, who is so far shown himself to be pretty interesting to pay attention to. This is my point, and this has always been my point about one. They, to me, have the product that is actually different from the UFC, that there is this mix of martial arts. There's grappling, there's Muay Thai, and there's MMA. And that does create some identity issues, and I don't know exactly where it's all headed because it does seem like they've scaled back MMA so much. You don't even know if they're an MMA promotion hardly anymore. But it is a good card. It is an interesting alternative. The thing for me, though, is, BC, are the American fans really going to, in Denver anyway, are they going to tune in? Are they going to show up? I haven't seen ticket sales. I don't think that they're super awesome for this one. And I just don't know what kind of impact it's going to have. The Denver market is a strong one, as we've seen. And I think one is trying. I just don't know if it's going to work.
I mean, I hope it works for them. I like the idea of them being around in the U.S. They've got names that we care about. They can produce really interesting bouts in non-MMA fights, as we're talking about, that you can sort of quasi-slide over and care about. Would it have changed if the original main event, which was Stamped Fairtex, who has the Atomweight Championship, was going to take on Strawweight champion Zhang Jingnan,
and they've got,
who had that trilogy with who? Andrea Lee?
I looked this up. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I got it right here.
But certainly Stamped Fairtex, a celebrated figure.
Angela Lee,
Angela Lee, yes. Certainly Stamped Fairtex, a celebrated figure but previously being in the Denver market and then the American market more importantly. I think it would have been a big deal for them.
That's a great fight between two champions.
Dude,
they love doing champ fights.
They love it, and they don't mind doing it. This is what I mean. I will be honest. Chatri's full of shit, but one is the best promotion outside of the UFC. Now, I don't know what their future looks like, but to this point, in this last 3 to 4 years or something like that, it's a true different product. It's fun. I like the way it's presented. Their belts are bigger than their flyweight champions. It's fucking hilarious. But I don't know how this is going to go for them. I genuinely don't know how it's going to go for them.
DJ and another, remember when he had that?
He's semi-retired. It seems
I know
like.
that, but remember when he had that really fun fight with Rod Tang with the mixed rules?
Yes.
I need him in some type of like half attraction, half legitimate fight. You know,
get him in a BJJ match.
Don't they? Well, you could do that, but don't they need a big free agent name to come in that you compare against DJ? That'd be interesting.
Right. Well, that's the problem with contracts. These guys can't get out of them.
These guys can't get out of them. There you go.
No one ever seems to notice. Boxers get out of their contracts all the time, and MMA fighters never get out of their contracts.
Well, I believe that bout airs Friday evening on Prime Video.
Yes, it does.
So shout out maybe Ray Flores on the call. Maybe, right? Good chance.
Chicago's biggest fan.
That's
the band.
That's his city. Okay,
you think CM Punk likes Chicago?
Not as much as Ray Flores. Shout out. I think
you think the Schmo likes Chicago?
David Schmoldenson. Yeah.
No, it's Ray Flores.
Do you see the Schmo's gonna?
Who does he like more, Chicago or Hasbulla?
Oh, Hasbulla all the way. Did you see the Schmo is going to host a UFC press conference next week at a weed store?
So it's not a UFC press conference. They're calling
involving
it something else.
UFC fighters.
It does have UFC fighters, but it's not an official UFC
But it's
event.
fighters that are going to be on the Sphere card.
Yeah, including Grasso is on that.
Yes.
Is on,
It's
yes.
at what, Planet 13? One of the weeds.
Probably. Planet 13 is the biggest one in Vegas.
Yeah.
Dude, don't you dare disparage MedMen.
Nah, Reef. Reef is where it's at. Shout out Reef.
No,
You know how much money I've spent at MedMen?
Alan Dawson took me to a place in Vegas near Fremont, near where all like the homeless area where like it's just streets lined up with it, where they have this outdoor place where they have a live comedian, they got some food trucks, and you can buy J's and smoke them right there, and you can get cannabis infused cocktails right there. At the
I'm
bar,
going to guess
too.
those comedians are not great. They probably have podcasts that are also not
Yeah,
great.
on the Thick Boy Network.
Hey.
Hey.
It's a little much.
We're just having fun with Reddit there, Luke. No one got hurt. I mean, there's nothing a double leg couldn't figure out. Indeed. Let's keep it going with those DMs from Donks every Sunday night, or some Sundays. We put out a call on the social webs, usually on our Instagram and Twitter handles at Morning Kombat, for you, the fan, to ask us questions. One day we'll bring back fan subs, but for now, all you can do is ask them a DM question from the damn Donks. That was gross.
Have you seen that camel, that baby camel that's become a meme that goes, ah?
No, but all of those noises remind me of that viral 90s video that we all watched at someone's college dorm room of the lady with the horse with the giant, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Worse than
I watch porn between humans.
and in one cup. You watch that kind of stuff. Let's go to question 1 from James O'Connor 731. Is it more likely, great question, that Conor McGregor fights again or that Jon Jones fights again after the Stipe fight?
Jesus.
It's a good question here, Luke. Where do you think we're at with McGregor? Dana says
He's out there tweeting about how he wants to be president of Ireland. I'm like, that's a little bit much overconfidence.
Dana did seem to indicate recently that there's going to be some Conor news coming up. I think he said that on some stream.
Yeah.
What's more likely?
Jesus.
Conor will fight again in the UFC. You agree with that, right? He will fight at least once more. It could be a train wreck, but he will fight again.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay, let's do the percentages. 1 to 100. Percentage that McGregor fights in the UFC again. I say it's 40. 40's high, but I still say 40% we see him again.
I'll go 25.
Okay, percentage Jon Jones fights. Presumably he beats Stipe. If he beats Stipe, percentage that he fights again.
5.
5%? I disagree with you. I think
10 at most.
I think part of what he's doing is negotiation. I think the UFC is going to bring a decent offer. I hope it's big enough. And I think that there's a 45% chance that Jon Jones fights again after Stipe. I'm going to put some respect on Jon's name. I'm going to put some respect that...
Dude, I respect his abilities.
Obviously, we all do. But I'm going to put some respect on his history and say that although he said things I don't like and he's actually on video saying, maybe I'll just retire after Stipe. We all know he said all that stuff. I still think it's more about public posturing and negotiation as it should be, considering he wanted Deontay Wilder money a few years ago, remember? I think we have a better chance of seeing Jon keep fighting.
I don't.
All right, next question from the DM Donkers. Hey, remember Brendan Lynch Media, our old social media guy?
He's Gordon Ryan from Wish.
He's a dime store Gordon Ryan. Wow.
No, I like Brendan, but
he's jacked as shit, by the way.
Yeah.
He says, if you were Dana, where would you build the next UFC PI? First of all, Luke, we have Vegas, we have China,
Shanghai,
Mexico City, maybe. And what's
you know what? I would probably do. I mean, maybe you don't need it. Like, part of going to China is to develop an undeveloped market. Part of going to Mexico is the same. Where would you go that's not as developed? I don't know the answer to that. I would say though, somewhere in mainland Europe seems like could benefit.
Why not
from it.
Japan?
You could do Japan.
Why has
Japan's
Japan
market
not had
I mean, dude, and when I first started watching MMA again after college, Japan had so many fighters.
They were MMA.
So many weight classes. Yes, they were the center of the MMA
They
universe.
were what Brazil became like 10 years ago, right?
Brazil's always had a lot of fighters,
That's a
though.
great
In their
point.
defense,
They
they've
did
always
start
had a
the
lot of
UFC
fighters. Yeah,
with-
exactly.
yeah.
And even then, there was always guys right behind him, Marco Huas and all the other legends. Like,
King of the fucking street. Is he alive? We need to talk to him.
yeah, he's alive. Yeah, Pedro Hizzo and all those guys.
Does he speak English?
I think he does. Mm-hmm.
If
Pedro does.
If the King of the Street speaks English, he needs to be on the show. That guy was a badass.
You could do it in Japan. I don't know if they really want to resuscitate that market. I think it's more about nurturing what's kind of already happening. And listen, France is an advanced economy. Spain and Germany are as well. UK too. But
they have a lot of people in India, Luke. Your home nation. A lot of freaking people in there.
That's a good. If you're looking at developing markets, that's probably a better place because obviously the Indians have a great history with wrestling.
1 out of every 3 people in the world live in India or China.
That's insane.
That is very much insane.
That's insane. I don't know. It's hard to they've gone to places that make a lot of sense. I don't know where they would go past this. I guess we'll have to see.
All right, interesting question. Not Africa. Where would you put it?
That's a great question too. I mean, I don't know where. I don't know. Where'd you put it in sub-Saharan Africa? Would you put it in the Arab North? Probably in the Arab North. Hard to say.
Maybe in Libya, Hakeem Dermish's home country.
The thing is this, though, like China is a relatively stable government.
Yes.
Mexico, relatively stable. U.S., relatively stable. I don't know about some of the places that you've mentioned, how stable those countries are.
Great point. Great point.
I don't want to overstate the problem, but like I can't go back to Lebanon because it has. I visited it in 2018. That's not North Africa, but it's pretty close. I visited in 2018, and right after I left, the whole shit kind of collapsed, and it's like I don't know, man. I don't know about some of these places.
Did you break a few commodes? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
You're talking about
the Lebanese economy went into free fall. And then don't you remember the blast at the harbor?
Yes, I do.
And now this in South Lebanon, they're going to war with Israel. It's a whole fucking
Just put
mess.
it in Saudi.
Do people want to go there? I don't know if people really want to go there.
All right, let's hear from @Flannels and Jits. What do you think that means, Flannels and Jits? Is that like masturbating in your pajamas?
Yeah, probably, right?
All right. He says, can you do a documentary series on your travels through Newark, Penn Station?
I no longer go there anymore. So I skip Newark now and go straight into Manhattan.
Why did you used to have to get off at Penn Station?
So the way it worked was I would have to take the train station from D.C. to Newark, and then I would have to take an Uber from Newark to Jersey City because there's actually no direct train system between the two.
Are you sure?
That you could do the path, but that would have been even longer, and it would have taken.
You just go to. It's like 3 stops.
Dude, I'm coming from Washington D.C. Like I need to take shorter paths if at all possible.
Sorry, you have another job.
So I don't do that anymore. I go straight to Manhattan. But I'll be honest, like it's just imagine walking into a live staph infection. That is.
Hey,
that is what the
Matt Snyder in the back. Can you give us thumbs up or thumbs down? Odds that Morning Kombat documentary number, what number are we on? 8?
Who knows?
Odds that we see it before March of 25. We got a thumbs up, dude.
Once again, we will have news to announce when we have news to announce.
All right. Final question from Cubby's Fan 80, which is he's one of the better music fans I've ever met. A huge donk. He says, in honor of NFL season kicking off this weekend, if you two were bringing 10 donks to a game and you were in charge of the tailgate, what are you cooking? What drinks are out? Any party games setting up? What does the whole spread look like? So let's say you and I personally
we're at a tailgate?
You and I were personally hosting a tailgate with 10 of our friends or MK Donks or whomever. What's the menu looking like? What kind of drinks are we having?
Okay, I feel like you can't have a tailgate without wings. I think it's fucking blasphemous.
No, I think as long as you have, like, you're going to have some strong meat, whether it's badass burgers, steak, you're going to have a large meat contention there, okay?
I don't disagree with that, but
like
I feel
beef
like
contention there.
I would say to me, wings is like the
I mean, they go great with the NFL, as does abuse and alcoholism and arrests and peeing on yourself. But if we were doing, I went to a Patriots game 2 years ago with one of my kids' friends and dad, and the dad is an expert. I mean, expert tailgate, and I did the full 8-hour experience. It was awesome, dude. I forgot how fun that is. You know,
it can be quite fun. Also, NFL fans are the biggest degenerates on earth.
It wasn't as bad at the Patriots game. Okay, maybe because it's New England.
That makes it far worse.
All right, what are we're having drinks. We're having cans of beer.
Are we having cans of beer? Or are we
men.
getting a keg?
Oh wow, you want to really act like
well,
men?
If we're having a party. I mean, he said 10 people, so I don't know, but if there's a choice, I'm going to pick a keg over cans of beer.
And you would drink beer again?
I would drink beer for that. I mean, I'm on antibiotics right now, but presumably I'd be off.
Okay. And we would need chips, dips, chains, whips?
100%.
Okay.
Bean dip or 7-layer, some kind of thing like that.
Do you know what is the crack of that area? Buffalo dip. Do you have buffalo chicken dip with chunks of chicken in it?
I'll accept that.
I have been that guy at the party who comes to your kid's christening or whatever party.
And just starts masturbating in
and
front of everybody?
put it out, and I'll take down a couple of beers, and before you know it, I am standing over the bowl so no one else can get there and just eating the whole thing. And I'm in such a zone mentally that it's like it didn't. You know when people can kill people and just black out, and then they wake up I didn't do that.
Yeah,
that's like me in front of that. All right,
in front of that. Yeah. So I agree with that one. Are we gonna have cornhole?
I don't mind. I don't mind a little cornhole. Yeah,
I think you have to.
Yeah, or any kind of can jam. You know that cornhole substitute.
I think you have to. Luke, what are we missing?
probably like.
I was gonna say I
pong.
would go beer pong or flip cup over cornhole.
Flip cup is only if there's going to be girls, and if it's MK fans, there are going to be no girls.
Yes,
so that's that.
We also need the Tyson gravity bong on standby.
Oh yes. Okay, I fully agree with that.
I may have a chance to get that back, by the way.
What do you mean?
It's currently in the possession of somebody I know, and they were like, "This is too much for me." All right.
I asked for it. I legitimately
yeah, but
asked
Long
for
Island Luke, let's be honest, it would have ended up on Luke's office floor unopened for about a decade, right?
Yeah, and if you give it to me, I'll smoke it every Saturday on Main Card Minute. Go check it
Wow,
out.
how's that for an endorsement right there?
Hey, fuck you.
There are your questions of the week. I hope we answered them to the liking of you. One more segment for you, and arguably it's the best in all of combat sports, Luke.
Oh, hot dogs. You have to have hot dogs, too.
Glizzies.
Glizzies.
How did we not even have that?
I mean, you got to have glizzies, bro.
We got glizzies in today's shit. I scoured the internet for the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly, in between combat sports and beyond. We call this species, feces, or have you seen this shit? Ooh, Luke, last weekend we had Misfits Boxing on DAZN, and no, I didn't watch it, but I did see this highlight. Anthony Taylor, former Bellator fighter who's become a crossover YouTube boxing guy, sending Anderson Silva's son Gabriel to hell, Luke.
So Anthony Taylor was just a guy in Bellator prelims, and he figured out, like Jake Paul did, if I stop fighting real fighters and I start fighting the crossover guys.
Dude, he fought Tommy Fury like 3 weight classes down and almost beat him.
Yeah, I know, but this is my point. Like, he realized if I go this route and I use, he does have a big mouth, like on purpose, he can have a much better career. Shouts to him.
Yeah. Was it tough to see Silva's son get sent like that?
I don't give a fuck if he lives or dies. I mean,
wow, just like that. Randy Cooter, Luke, may not show up on our show at noon each week. Shout out to the natural, the legend. But remember I mentioned that weird Twitter exchange he kept having?
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Here's a piece of that if you missed it.
Don't have a burner, bro. Real comment, like grass on the playing field. What's the issue? She posts a pic of her bare pussy. I responded, okay, Randy, that's...
You gotta love Uncle
Can you imagine
Randy.
Captain America saying that in a movie? Well, it's all, I want hair on her puss.
Yeah, I mean, Luke, there's nothing like a shaved scrotum. It's quite breathtaking. You remember that line from Austin Powers? Okay. Anyway, I don't care about whether you want any grass on the
You want to see
playing field.
my shaved scrotum?
No. Luke, are you still scared of the coronavirus?
I mean, I don't want it.
All right, let's watch this.
Sir, are you scared of the coronavirus?
Is this for a porno scene?
No. That's better than Hawk Tua. You got to spit on that thing. What a reaction right there.
Did you see she signed a podcasting deal with Jake Paul?
And calls it Talk Tua. This has been a brilliant rebranding from Haley Welch.
You love her? I'm now actively rooting for her downfall.
And I'm not loving her in the sense that you think I am, like she's a UFC strawweight. I'm
you're
saying,
doing one of these
No,
numbers.
I'm saying like she's wholesome and she's kind of spun this perfectly.
I mean, I don't think getting famous for talking about how you spit on cocks is
She lives with her
wholesome.
granny because her mom had drug issues. Like,
yeah, all right. I mean,
Granny
that's,
Jane, you don't follow this?
We've all got issues.
Do you follow the Rizzler on Instagram?
That fat kid?
Yeah, it's the best. All right, Luke.
We're Costco guys. Shut the fuck up.
Luke,
Shut your fucking
we don't
mouth.
talk politics enough on this show, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody loves.
Let's hear from Trump.
So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full-throated. Great endorsement.
If I hear full-throated, I think Monica Lewinsky. What's he talking about here, Luke?
Okay, that's a fair way to. That's not an. Okay, I mean, in the age of juvenile internet idiots that I do a podcast with,
yes,
that's a thing. But like full-throated condemnation or full-throated support is just a way of saying it's.
Thank you, English professor at a community college. You'll be in Goodwill Hunting Part 2.
I need patches on my sleeve.
What do you think about Dana going on Fox News and saying Trump is the greatest fighter of all time and forgetting Jon Jones in that countdown? Who's coming out of that room, Luke?
I mean, do you know how much you got to love a guy if you're Dana White to rank him over Jon Jones?
All right, who do you rank higher, Trump or RFK Jr.?
In terms of what? Like mentally deficient or?
Let's go to the videotape.
Something's been bothering me. Why does RFK Jr. just look a little strange? And it finally hit me. No one's used to seeing an old Kennedy.
Shout out to Ted, by the way. Great senator, bad fucking date. That's great. All right.
Who did that joke?
Dennis Leary.
Dennis Leary, yeah.
Probably
yeah.
stole it from Bill Hicks. Yeah,
well,
there you go.
Killed the lady. Who knows?
Luke, we know that you're a great dad and you take Turki to the park, but
All the
we've
time.
got hidden camera footage of it. Let's watch.
Oh, God.
Dad, I'm higher than you.
I seriously doubt that.
Come on, come clean, Luke. Come clean.
I'm mostly sober.
All right, come original. Hulk Hogan's been back in the news because he was on the Logan Paul podcast. Let's hear it.
More N-word?
If Chris Benoit can do the crap he did and the fans still love him, they're very forgiving. I've made some major mistakes in my personal life, and they're very, very forgiving, but they forgive you. But
what Terry just said was that to justify his use of the N-word and to prove to us how forgiving wrestling fans are, he's trying to make the case that if Chris Benoit murder-suicide him and his family, the fans still forgave him. So that's what wrestling fans are all about.
I understand this. Are there actually pro wrestling fans who have forgiven Chris Benoit?
I don't want to say forgiven. There's a small minority of conspiracy theories that believe Kevin Sullivan, who used to be married to Benoit's wife, Nancy, before this, maybe had a role. Sullivan recently passed away, by the way. Who knows? There are people that are like, it's edgy to play 9/11 jokes, and have you seen this shit?
Yeah.
A lot of people make, edgy Benoit jokes from the standpoint of he was such a great wrestler that they don't want to forget him because of this.
Okay, so let me ask a question. Irrespective of him being a murderous monster, how good was he as a pro wrestler?
Physically, technically, as good as it gets. As good as it gets historically. Was great.
Again, forget all the...
didn't have great charisma, wasn't a great talker on the mic, but as a wrestler, he was a wrestler's wrestler. He was,
Yeah, I don't know. Being like, listen, guys, I didn't murder my wife and child, so you have to forgive me for the N-word usage. That's an argument you can make.
Yeah. Hey, let's check in on the whites, Luke. You love to watch what happens to them,
do,
right?
Yes. Oh, you fucking dumb shit.
Okay,
Oh, Jesus.
There you go. How many times have we seen this lesson
That's
learned?
a concussion.
On have you seen this shit? If you're white, don't jump off the roof into the pool, okay?
Why don't you headbutt the fucking cement more, stupid?
Drunk white girls make great clips on this.
They do. Hey, now you're pregnant.
Gosh. Luke, would you be interested in reincarnating as that sign after this?
I would probably smell it.
Oh, God. You just made a gross statement even grosser. Let's keep going with these white folks.
Like you wouldn't, you fucking creep.
The army wrong, but no accuracy.
Could have hit him with that 50-cent first pitch.
Who parks there, dude? Come on.
Yeah, good point.
I mean,
Good
seriously,
point.
you had that
Fucking good
coming.
point. Yeah.
Remember at the Little League growing up, there'd be like parking spaces beyond the home run fence?
And then all their shit would just get dinged.
Come on. We got another white person for you.
Let's go.
Oh my God, that was not the right way to do that.
Did you hear that?
Are you okay? Are you?
One more time, play that. One more
Bill's
time.
Mafia in the house.
Yeah, Bill's Mafia. Look at this fat fuck. Hold that shit, bitch.
Luke, I think one of the best growing subsegments is T-shirts of the week in the show.
All right.
Let's see what we got.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, that's
so good.
I can appreciate that he can laugh at himself. That is that Photoshopped or is that real?
No, I think Luke Noceda, that's real, right?
You're the one who gives me the shit.
By the
I'm gonna say it's
by the
real.
way, look at his hat. 6 to 9.
So good. All right, let's keep it going. Remember everybody had those cheeky Cox hats in high school, the South Carolina?
Yeah.
This is somebody's daughter.
Saturdays are Jesus Christ, dude. I see shit like this and I'm like, what is going to happen in my life as my daughter
Can we
ages?
DM her? Let's go over to bonus card decal of the week.
Clitoris. Oh, that's
finally found it.
You know
Luke,
what? That's a person you got to marry. Right there. That's a lady you got to take home.
Hey, we
to
have
mom.
a bonus. Rate that hat, Luke.
Call me. I can't read it because I don't have
Taco Bell.
Call me Taco Bell because I'm gonna destroy your asshole.
The censors just gave me a unscrupulous look over there. Wow. Okay.
Did you get it past the North Korean censors?
Let's go to the Power Wheels mud pit here. Let's see what happens.
Fuck this up. Oh! Dude, did we just witness a death?
No, we have witnessed a death on this show before, but as you can hear, she's still alive. Look, she's still alive. We have witnessed, I believe, 2 deaths and 2 dicks we've seen in this segment.
Yeah, that went poorly.
Wow. All right, let's keep it going, Luke. Hit the batting cage.
Oh!
I mean, why are you standing there?
So, mi primera chamba, like, as I understand, like, again, I don't know how this is being used, but, like, in Colombian Spanish, it means, like, my first, like, big, like, wound.
Yes. You know? Yeah, for you're not coming back from that wound. Let's check in on regional MMA, Luke, where anything can happen. What do you think about 12-6 elbows to the actual rim?
Well, these are to the butt muscle.
I think he might have hit some grundle on that last one there. That's very...
I think you just have to forfeit if this happens.
Yeah, all right. Well, what do you know, shoeies were gross enough with Tuivasa. Check out this regional heavyweight.
Look at this garbage pail kid.
He's drinking from an athletic support, Luke. Presumably one he just wore.
Dude, somebody hose him down and delouse him.
Luke, you can never be too careful out in them streets, especially when it comes to road rage. No, this isn't an Adesanya video, but check this out.
Come on, baby, hit it. Come on, baby, hit it. Hit it. I did. All my kids, he ain't ready for the movie. He ain't ready for the movie. I'm gonna drag that bitch right out of him.
Okay.
What the fuck?
No one died.
Oh, shit. Hey, move your couch, ready?
It doesn't end, though.
Damn!
What happened?
The car that ran through everybody got hit. And flipped.
You dumb ass bitch! You dumb
That's called karma, Luke.
Be that. Hey, we got one.
She got one. Damn. All right.
Well, that was
disturbing. Hey, check out the wrap on this Cybertruck, Luke.
Dude, what the fuck was that?
I think the third death in MK history, potentially.
Dude, it's just some guy falling in traffic. What the fuck is that?
All right, it's time to get glizzy with it. You ever hear spaghetti hot dogs?
I'm not totally white trash.
Okay, hear me out. The best part about boiling hot dogs is that you get hot dog flavored water. Maybe it's not the best thing, but a spaghetti hot dog, that, my friends, is the best thing.
All right, here's the thing.
I can't take full credit for this concept. I've
long put baked beans on a hot dog with ketchup already on it. Like, it's the power move of power moves, okay?
You are a filthy, disgusting
There's no
creature.
question about it. That is next level. Spaghetti hot dog?
That is elite raccoon eating. That is what that is.
If you need to justify the use of hot dogs in your diet, despite your fears of getting a black liver like me, listen to this man.
I don't give a fuck if this hot dog is bad for my gut microbiome. I used to smoke meth off of a broken light bulb. It's delicious. Don't be a pussy.
Could be my dad.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. That should be an official 7-Eleven commercial.
That really should be. All right, let that sink in. Let this thing sink in too, Luke.
Here we just hit 8 billion people in the world.
There's 8 billion people.
I know. Let that sink in.
Okay, yeah.
I hope all of them die in a house fire.
Your worst tat of the week, Luke. I hope you rated it.
Gee, dude, we have seen a lot of male titties today. Have you noticed that?
All right. Do you like Chicago as a city? I know Ray Flores does.
I think Chicago's awesome.
Let's
I love
watch
Chicago.
this.
If you're ever sad, just move to Chicago and then you can see this.
If you're ever sad, just move to New York and you can see this. I mean, the view is incredible right now. Oh, shit.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Well, we had a good run, Luke. We had a good
God.
run. All right. We need something quick to take that taste away. I think I've got the right flavor.
2 in the pink, 1 in the stink.
That's the shit of the week, Luke.
I got to say, that's an A- batch from you. That's an A- batch. And I don't think you were too high when you made it. I can tell there's a little more thought process.
Lug Island Luke, do you agree with this rating?
Yeah, I thought that was a great batch.
Yeah, this was a good one.
We only had 2 deaths, so it was good. That's the show for the damn week. Can we announce something about Monday? No?
Yeah, I think well, it's on you because you're the one who actually booked it. So
Randy Couture Monday, of course. Monday's morning combat will be a big one. Obviously, we will be previewing what is a loaded week in combat
also reacting
sports.
to a bunch of stuff that happened over
Reacting
the weekend.
to this weekend, Brady versus Burns, maybe the biggest of them all, and previewing Canelo versus Berlanga in that big PBC pay-per-view on Mexican Independence Day, and the damn UFC Sphere the same night Riyadh Cizin presents UFC Noche, and maybe even that Bellator card from Ireland. We will also be having
San Diego. Oh, you mean previewing? Yeah.
Max Holloway on Monday's Morning Kombat. Get freaking ready for that.
Max Holloway at 1 p.m.
Max Holloway to be interviewed by Ilia Toporia's biggest fan. This will be something.
Who said I wasn't a Max fan?
We love Max. We love Max.
If you don't like Max Holloway, something is absolutely wrong
You're
with
an
you.
absolute POS if that's the case.
Yeah, everybody likes Max.
Next week, Luke, I am launching the Brian Campbell experience on YouTube. We'll see what kind of disaster this turns into.
All right, very good.
Also, I will be in Las Vegas for Canelo. So it should
when are
be
you
fun.
flying out?
Tuesday.
Oh, you got a long week.
So I got a big couple weeks. I'll be in Vegas.
Sorry, I can't be there, bro.
I wish you could, but I understand. I'll be in Vegas hosting some events for PBC. We'll have, I believe, an interview show. We'll have some good content from All the Smoke fight coming your way. And then I'll be back in New York here for the Monday after. And then as soon as we end MK on Monday, I get on the jet to Dublin.
Wow.
So good times, great oldies. Very excited about what's coming in the future.
Did I tell you what's happening in Colombia right now that's like making me a little bit nervous?
Uh-oh.
So because my wife is gone, and my wife's business trip is 10 days. 10 days she has to go. It's a really long
So
one.
she just got a big like new job, all
brand new
excited.
job, big promotion.
And this is like the first big like.
It's her new company's biggest event of the year.
That's awesome.
So she has to be there for a long, long time, and so I don't have any help at home, and I have to come here on Mondays. So we said, hey, let's fly Abuela up from Colombia.
Yes.
She agreed. I paid for her ticket. It was great. There is a strike happening in the entire country right now. They raised I think the current government raised the price of diesel. All the truckers with produce, the whole bit, have blocked all of their trucks on any route in and out of all the major cities.
Is this an insurrection?
Sort of. If you want to get to the fucking airport in Bogota, you have to either take a moped or you have to drag your shit on foot. And you might be like, why don't the cops clear it? And I'm like, this is what I mean. Like, private security is a big thing in Colombia, but like the state having an apparatus to do this, they can't fight this. So they have to work out some negotiated settlement. My point being is Abuela's like, how the fuck am I going to get to the airport? Our hope is that the government and the truckers come to some kind of an arrangement, because otherwise your boy is going to be stuck with all the Turki duties, which means that next Monday I might have to bring her to New York with me because I have no way to take her to school.
Okay, if you left her in the studio with Ken, the sound guy,
yeah,
and he introduced her to vaping, would you be upset about that? He's
Ken,
like,
I'll kill you.
He's like, this is peyote, Turki. No, do you think that she would be okay in the control room?
She would be fine.
Would she
I don't want to do that. I want to send her to fucking school.
Would she join
but
the show and break things down with us?
I'm not going to put her on camera much anymore. I don't want her. She should be able to make those choices now. And when she was a little baby, I didn't care.
Yeah.
But now she's a kid. I don't want my kid on camera.
All right. When you were talking about derangement and insurrection, I thought you were going Jesse on Fire's direction. So that's.
You had an interesting experience.
That was a hell of a debate. Yeah. Good run.
Anyway, so wish me luck that the impasse in Colombia gets fixed, because this fucking sucks.
I hope so. Or you'll be. Maybe you'll stay in the control room and babysit.
Yeah, I might have to.
Maybe
you and Turki can do the show.
There we go. There we go.
That's
That's the future. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you want more Morning Kombat in your life, stay freaking tuned, all right? Stay tuned. Stay the fuck tuned. All right, there you go. Buy our merch at morningkombat.store. 10% off right now using the Live 10. You can dress and look exactly like me. So why wouldn't you right there? What a time to be alive. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you so much. Thanks to our great team here at Metal Arc Studios. Any other blessings you want to give?
Thanks to everyone who watched, because I know we had an abnormal time and an abnormal day. We appreciate it, but back to normal routine. Monday, big show, Max Holloway. Can't wait.
Can't wait to bang, Tui. That's the plan. We're going to be there. Thank you. Take care of yourself this weekend. Enjoy the fights, folks, okay? Put yourself first. We're going to get through this together. I'm BC. That's LT. We're out of here.